Hello, everybody. Welcome to this SMZ3 tournament race. This is a round 2 matchup between Alucard 2004 and ShyGuy, or Metroid MST, as his rank 1 profile name. Joined on commentary, I'm A0. I'm joined by In the Name of DT. How are you doing, DT?
Yo, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Ace. Doing great. Really looking forward to this race. Two extremely knowledgeable runners, and perhaps I would say right away, one of the things that I'm most looking forward to is just how much I might be able to learn just by watching. Being fairly new to SM myself, there's so many intricate things and just small little optimizations between routing and execution. This is going to be a fantastic race.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fantastic race. And one thing I'll point out off the bat that I think is really interesting about this matchup in particular is that both of these racers play Super Metroid on a keyboard. Metroid MST uses a controller for Link to the Past, whereas Alucard uses a keyboard for both games. But it just goes to show how good you can be with different tools than what's expected or what most people think are necessary to be good. They absolutely are not necessary to play with controllers.
For sure, yeah. Everybody's got their preference, and you find what works for you. Certain controllers may not be as good, such as an N64. I wouldn't really recommend one of those for a game like this, but who knows? Maybe someone could make it work.
Yeah, it looks like we'll be off in just a moment. Both racers have their files loaded up.
Loaded up with that ominous title screen music, just that little bit of a subtle rhythm, the baby screeching in the background. I honestly, I've learned to very genuinely love Super Metroid over the past few months.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and of course, DT, correct me if I make any mistakes in commenting on any Super Metroid things, because I know I'm much more versed in Link to the Past. I know you're in the same boat, so if anyone on chat catches us making a mistake or speaking incorrectly about anything in the game, please politely correct us.
I was gonna say, I'll do my best, but I'm gonna rely on you as well, my friend. I'm in the school of everything is a frog taught by Professor Crossproduct, so until proven otherwise, that's what we go with. And here we go. Runners are off. Timers are rolling. And of course, at this point, there's really only the one real option to start with, right? I mean, or maybe there's a morph ball. Nah, we can't even say that, right? I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I think that's a really bold move to go down to the morph pedestal. You kind of have to feel like either you need a big advantage because your opponent is that much better than you, or you are so much better than them, you're going to play defense and make sure that's nothing. But at this point, it's much too competitive to be able to do that. There's so many checks in Link to the Past that both runners jump right in, and just a bottle on the Hylia Island, so that's probably not going to get picked up.
Right, having 4 of them in the game, it's one that you keep in the back of your mind. It could be the first logical bottle down the road. Too soon to say, but you don't put all your eggs in that basket at this point. You know you're going to pick one up at some point beforehand.
Yeah, for sure. And here's where the first divergence could come in, but both runners opting to check this tree pole. This is the tier 3 tree pole that's already set up. Oh, looks like Metroid MST must have taken some damage. I didn't see that. But they got the tier 2 tree pole, which is really unfortunate. The tier 3 is bombs.
Yeah, early game. Any of you familiar with the Link to the Past rando know how important bombs are in the early game. You need several of them alone just to get through all of the CAC checks reliably without purchasing any extras. And magic powder in the chest next to our uncle, so nice little safety to have early. Don't have to worry too much about health with so many late dungeons having anti-fairies. Should be good.
Yeah, and if we get an early hammer, could put a nice early magic bat for progression. Any fetch quests early tend to be more likely to lead to progressive items. So that might be something that's in the runner's minds at this point, but without Dark World access and a mirror or a hammer, they can't get to check that yet anyway.
Now, we may be seeing a little bit of divergence here, with Alu heading straight north. He's going to check out what's in the tree, and Metroid MST deciding to just go straight into the Lost Woods. Oh, and we have 20s, big 20s from the Bush Crab, which is a fantastic early game money source. Alu's heading back south. I wonder if he's going to farm this up a little bit more. Certainly not bad.
Yeah, it looks like he was setting up for the tier 2 tree pull, or just another tier 3 to get those additional bombs. Luckily, Metroid MST does find bombs in the drop down in Lost Woods, so he's not going to be in too much trouble.
Oof.
In Kakariko.
Not getting that one. That's stuck under the lumberjack. Those crabs aren't going to drop anything more until the most recent one was picked up, so rip that. And just a shield in the tree as Metroid MST picks up what looks like a hook shot, boing boing, up in the Lost Woods. The heart piece item.
Yeah, that's really good, especially early on. Again, we already mentioned these tree poles and bush crabs. Just seeing where all the resources are and getting yourself set up early on where you can take a few seconds to speed things up later.
Yeah.
Metroid MST will get to check the stun prize. Maybe that might get him some bombs or rupees early. For
sure. Yeah, just some, I mean, in these first 5 minutes, just some really nice quality of life items at the moment.
Yeah, Metroid MST not checking the bush crab, though. Luckily does get some rupees here in Blind's Hut right away. So he'll be in okay shape. Should be able to check the bottle vendor on this trip.
Yeah, even if there isn't any money in the chest, we've got 30 rupees here and then another 20 that are accessible in the well to make for an even 100 if we don't find anything else, so it's going to work out.
Yeah, 2 power bomb packs is also really nice. One thing that when these runners do find Morph Ball, that's a very big item that opens up the most locations out of any individual item in the game. They're going to want to have 2, maybe 3 or 4 power bomb packs so they have good movement options through Super Metroid. So finding 2 immediately is really nice.
Yeah, in my short time playing this, I feel like I've heard that 15 or 20 power bombs is generally a comfortable number to have for pretty much the duration of the run. So nice to have at least half of that now.
Yeah, it certainly depends on your other movement items, and that might dictate where you opt to go in the early game when you first transition to Super Metroid, but we'll have to see the Morph Ball before, or potentially a speed booster or screw attack to get more items available there.
Nothing else really of note so far through Kakariko, as MST has just one more check before heading south. He may even just be able to only check the race game. He doesn't have any bombs or enough money to purchase more bombs.
Yeah, it looks like he was gambling on getting some more rupees, but didn't get only 20 from the bottle vendor. He did have the option to possibly... There is a 50-50 bush in the southwest corner of Kakariko, as well as the bombable hut there that you could use to farm back up. He could have used his last bomb on that, but it's a bit of a walk, and it feels bad either way.
Of course, yeah. Anytime that you have to head back up to northern Kak to get some money, or just make several trips throughout the whole city, it's not a feel-good thing. Just gotta tell yourself, we're still in the first 10 minutes of the game. It's not that big of a deal. Just keep moving on. But these 50 rupees, just the right number to purchase a 10-pack of bombs. And we'll move forward from there.
Opting not to buy the bombs. That's a very interesting play that he went to farm the rupees. I guess he's going to scout out the race game. Hopefully, for Metroid MST, it doesn't end up being anything. Otherwise, he's going to have to backtrack to buy bombs and return here to pick it up.
That's the hope, where Alu's just gonna do the same, and we may just see a dual save and quit in a moment. It's a reserve tank.
That's a good one. If you'd gone for that blind, you definitely would want to pick it up with no other E-tanks. I don't believe we've seen any of those yet. But
I don't believe so either.
Yeah, not really worth walking around the runners are not going to be required to do any hell runs or anything, so...
And I think that was their first map check, too. It looked like a red pendant at Eastern. I couldn't quite tell about Hera, but it looked like Desert was just a regular crystal as well.
I think it was red crystal at Hera.
Okay. And shoutouts as well to our tracker Link Force, who's going to, no doubt, do an outstanding job for us, letting us know if we're wrong about stuff like that, too.
Yeah, we see Metroid MST, he is getting a little bit of efficiency, I suppose, by not needing that race game item. He's able to buy bombs on the way to Sahasrahla, which is a little bit faster. So this is the first bit of divergence we've seen in the run. Alucard does the South Shore checks, getting a mushroom. So there's another fetch quest.
So what do you think about a divergence like this? Do you think that if one runner happens to find morph or a couple of key SM items, they might head back in before going to the other location? Or do you consider this a play where both runners are just going to crisscross anyway, as MST happens to even just find the morph in Sahasrahla's closet?
Wow. Okay, then. I think that the South Shore, at least Mini Moldorm Cave and the Dam, are too quick and too dense to skip at this point. I'd say that's a pretty aggressive play. But I could see, if Alucard were to have found the Morph Ball here, I could see him skipping the Eastern Sahasrahla checks.
Mm-hmm. True, yeah, going through Eastern Palace can be a little bit slow, especially if you wind up needing to go to the big key chest, back to the big chest. But I think all in all, pretty standard opening. You do both sets of these locations almost regardless of anything else, in most cases at least.
Yeah, especially with Eastern as a pendant, though, that does make this a little bit more appealing of an option. You don't have to worry about doing our most nice, because you potentially won't have to do that ever again. It's probably not going to be a double dip. We're going in to clear out the front early and getting more power bombs. So yeah, Metroid MST is in good shape, I think, at this point to do at least most of the Brinstar checks. It didn't look like Alucard found much of anything in Mini Moldorm Cave, though.
No, it's been interesting just how relatively little we found throughout some of the most dense opening checks. Usually you get a little bit more, but I guess this is fully within the realm of possibility as we're witnessing it. Curious to see what their missile counts are going to be at, though, when they do go back to Super Metroid. I feel like it's a fairly healthy number for this early. We've seen a good amount of ammunition.
Yeah, there have been at least a few missile packs and a few super missile packs as well. Of course, early on, you don't really need a lot of either of those. Super missiles can be tight if you're going through all of Brinstar, and if you're doing some of the tricks, including the Wave Gate glitch to get that E-Tank item. Can be tricky, can use a few super missiles. Looks like Alucard doing Front of Escape instead of Eastern Sahasrahla, or at least before doing that. Not a bad play with Hookshot and plenty of bombs. Shouldn't have any trouble really getting through the front of this dungeon.
Finding the bow, that's actually very interesting. I didn't happen to notice if MST got all three items out of Eastern or not, but already straight back into Super Metroid.
I don't know if he got all three. I think he only got two. And opted not to sequence break the Dark Rooms.
That's fair. That is a long walk.
Yeah, it's a long walk, and nothing really to make the Dark Rooms easier. Very low on hearts. You can definitely have a little bit of trouble hitting that switch in the first of the Dark Rooms. You get kind of bodied by the Anti-Fairies or the Popos. He does have to be very careful here in the Gauntlet, though. On 0 E-Tanks.
Yeah, that acid will eat away at you very, very quickly. I'm very much enjoying watching that movement through there. Just as careful as it is.
Yeah, well done through the first half. The back half's a little bit more straightforward, so you should be through the hardest part at this point. It's a little off the timing, has to wait for one more rise and fall of the acid. Well, we see Alucard probably going to be going to Eastern Hospital to get his morph. And we'll see if he completes all of Eastern Palace to get that pendant.
I suspect he will, unless we happen to find all 3 items, but it's very possible too that when you're there, you just go for it. It feels better, I guess, than having to come back later on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Speaking of things that feel good, finding those high jump boots, that feels really good at the end of the gauntlet there. It's not in logic, but it doesn't really matter. You're glad to have done that if you're in Metroid MST's position.
To Alu with its morph ball now, and the bow perhaps steering his decision at the moment. He's heading over to Eastern Palace. Had a consideration that perhaps he would also head straight back, and we see a very nice mock ball. I mean, I guess for experienced runners, it's a kind of a bit of an autopilot to get it first try like that, but I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm impressed to see it as relatively easily as these people make it look.
Yeah, and that's one of those tricks that doing it faster, not doing a full height jump to reduce the amount of wasted time in the air. There's a lot of ways you can improve on it to speed up a little bit. And gets the escape out, but then falls back in here. But it's the shovel from underneath the bridge. We'll see if that is valuable later on, probably. A lot of early fetch quests again.
That's true. We've seen mushroom, powder, and that shovel now. So that's pretty much all of the big ones for Link to the Past.
ShyGuy having to be a little bit careful with his energy. No suits, no E-tanks. Luckily, these spikes don't do as much damage as some of the spikes in the game, but you still don't want to get in a bad spot trapped underneath any of those platforms. Yeah, and our tracker pointing out that the Alucard does have 1 E-tank. He got, I think that was the best thing in Mini Moldorm Cave, but Metroid MST did not go there, and luckily isn't missing out on anything else of note by not having gone there. Metroid MST trying to get a little bit of health from those side hoppers, but gets an unusual power bomb drop.
Making the decision to not continue on in that short route. He's just going to go up here and farm up a little bit of health, I would imagine.
Yeah, I like this. The side hoppers, the big side hoppers of Mission Impossible can like one-shot him on the health he was at. So
yeah, one invaluable skill is knowing your limits, and even if you'd probably be fine. I mean, do you take the risk? The answer is probably no in most cases.
Yeah, definitely not.
Gets through without taking any damage. We have Alu going to the back of Eastern Palace now.
Yeah, and kind of in the same boat as Metroid MST, taking a little bit of safety, farming up with those fairies to hopefully to prevent him from dying in this dark room. Not sure where...
Maybe he's just death warping out at this point. Or I guess that's a strategy he uses to manipulate. Interesting, okay.
I'm not sure what was the plan with those hook shot strats, but he's able to get through it, get back out, and farm up again. that room definitely can go wrong, and once those Igors first move and get out of position, if you're not prepared for it, it's really hard to find them and kill them, especially with all the popos that kind of move at random. You can get bumped around, and it's a very tricky dark room.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing with the popo movement, is that there's no real pattern to it. It's pretty much completely random. And yeah, you've got the fairy room right out front, but you take a couple of hearts and you start to scramble to get out. It can be just as dangerous as trying the room in the first place. So we'll see Metroid MST, I don't have audio there, but first try getting that Wavegate glitch. Very nicely done.
And luckily only takes the one intended hit from the side hopper. An extra hit would have killed him there. But he knows what he's doing. Does have to be careful on the way out. This is the scary part, because okay, he gets hit by the small side hopper. The fastest route would be to open the door and do a damage boost off the large side hopper out, but he would have died if he'd done that, so
yeah.
Very smartly.
Funny thing about damage boosting is it requires taking damage, so
yeah.
When you don't have any health to play around with, you just gotta take it safely. Worth noting too, well, the sword, I guess, that's also fantastically worth noting. That Metroid MST did find the silver arrows down at, I believe that's the charge vanilla location.
Yes, at the bottom of Big Pink, that's the charge beam spot. So that'll be handy. Definitely not required for runners of this caliber, but going to be useful, going to be something that speeds up their play. And Armos did have the third item, it was just power bombs. So Metroid MST may not have to come back for that.
Yeah, it should seem unlikely. But with that, Alu, I believe, completely out of logical checks aside from like Agana, heading back into Super Metroid, and he'll have plenty to do here.
Yeah, and interesting to note, Alucard opting to take the portal instead of the save and quit. Not sure exactly the reasoning behind this. It might be due to his low health, maybe trying to grab a few extra checks before going up to Gauntlet, hoping for more energy or a movement item. Might just be that's what he's used to since the days before the quick save and quit or reset function were built in.
And on one hand, it does get you a couple of items pretty quickly after the transition between games, so it could just be a kind of like a density type of thing that he's trying to go for.
Yeah, and it looks like
Before
we see
making... oh, there you go.
Screw Attack from MST, while Alucard gets his Moon Pearl from Bomb Chorizo. So Screw Attack is another nice movement item that isn't required, but really helpful. Really makes things safer, makes things faster throughout the whole game. Moon Pearl definitely required.
Oh, of course. I think that was just a piece of heart in Billy May's room. Nothing too special, but of course part of the routine blue Bryn checks. And within a minute or two now, MST is also going to be getting their Moon Pearl. I would imagine. I guess I shouldn't say that for sure. I don't know which way they will route, but I assume they're going to go up through Criteria.
Yeah, at this point, that would be the sensible thing to do. We'll see if he opts to scout out the Criteria Supers. That's pretty risky. Screw Attack helps a lot, because you can just Screw Attack through the Boyons, but if he falls in the acid, it's pretty much instant death, so I kind of speculate that he's going to skip that for now. Can't get the item anyway without Speed Booster and 1 or 2 E-Tanks. Ooh, okay. Alucard luckily getting grabbed on good timing with the acid falling, so he doesn't die from getting grabbed by that yapping maw. That was a little scary.
Yeah, even with that E-Tank, this is not a place to have something go wrong.
Okay.
And it looks like MST is going to make this Shaft Supers check. Personally, I like it. I've always, in my time playing randomizers, I've always enjoyed getting information, even at the cost of 30, 40 seconds, whatever it may be, that you can't actually get the item now. But we see it's just another bottle. The third one that we know the location of, so certainly not something that we have to worry about as the run goes on now.
Right. Yeah. I think I don't like it. Just well, I mean, Metroid MST is better than me. That's why he's still in the tournament and I'm not. But as someone who's died several times in the Criteria Supers room, including yesterday in the weekly, that's a dangerous room. Turns out if you shine spark up to the top and you don't have enough energy to damage across the spikes, you have to die.
Well, that does sound sounds like a thing, but
Yep. Yeah, but luckily he does a really good job getting through the Boyons with his screw attack, doesn't fall in the acid.
yeah, just all in all, really, really solid, safe, and patient play with only that 99 health.
Oh, for sure. Alright, so after Bomb Chorizo, Metroid MST is going to have some options. DT, where do you think he's going to go at this point?
Down Red Tower? That's just my guess. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm sure it's possible, although difficult to actually. I guess you're just gonna go back to A Link to the Past. All right, that's my new answer.
Yeah,
is that what you were gonna say the whole time anyway?
I was thinking he's either got Red Tower is a good option, or he's got some fetch quests to turn in. He's got a sword for front of his cave. He's got Mini Moldrum Cave as well as the dam. Magina and Ice Rod Cave, so a lot of kind of spread out checks, but either this or down Red Tower to Kraid's Lair, both would be pretty sensible, dense locations.
Right, no doubt. I was trying to think, hey, here's a Super Metroid runner that's far, far better than me. I know that getting to Wreck Ship is technically possible, but I don't... Would you do that with not a single E-Tank? I'm thinking probably not.
No,
so,
there's almost no way.
This makes... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially with just nothing to speed up, no movement items to make it easier. You'd be forcing yourself in a situation where you're gonna have to go slower just because of your low resources, and Wreck Ship's already slow enough to full clear.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no, I was just trying to like speculate and see what could potentially be a possibility, but no, honestly, I really like this play, going back to A Link to the Past, doing a little bit of that cleanup. Comment in chat, thinking it might be good to try and reach the Death Mountain door. That could certainly be an interesting one, because that would be a logical access to East Death Mountain and Paradox Cave, since we have the hook shot, which is, of course, extremely dense.
Yeah, and Kraid's Lair on the way, that's like basically a crystal dungeon, if you want to think of it that way, from the Link to the Past focused players or watchers. It's something you're going to have to do and isn't really going to get that much faster with any other movement items. Alright, I wasn't sure what Alucard has in his reserve tank, so I was making sure he was not going to die. Very careful again not to get hit by that side hopper, just like Metroid MST. Very, very careful execution on low health here. Well done. Yeah, I think if I was in Metroid MST shoes, I would, I like the Link to the Past play. I think after this, he should work on the fetch quest that he's gotten. You can turn in Shovel on the way to the bottle check, kind of pair those together nicely. You could always turn in the mushroom. That's a bit of a walk, kind of all by itself. I'm not sure that I like that one.
Yeah, that's the thing about going back to any of these one-off locations is that if you can pair it with something, it just makes it not feel nearly as bad. So I like the idea of shovel into Sit Kid, just because it is relatively quick if you've got that density with it. But MST as well has not done escape yet, so they'll go there, get their bow, and I mean, who knows? It's still early enough that may lead them back to Eastern, but it also may not. We know as commentators what else is available for everybody at this point, and being able to see both games gives us that unique perspective.
Right. Now, I want to point out, too, I like that both runners used a slightly different setup for that wavegate glitch, where Metroid MST has Moonwalk on, so he was able to Moonwalk back into the corner, whereas Alucard did a nice little morph, and then he turned back around while in Morph Ball, so he didn't pull away from the wall too far to still get the setup. So a nice way to show off. There's more than one way to get some of these setups. It's a really neat feature of the game.
And Alu just inched into that doorway knowing his health situation, just being very, very cautious of these side hoppers and getting through without taking a single hit. So good for him being low on health.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that he actually did try the faster D-boost off of the large side hopper on the way out of the wavegate room, and accidentally looks like hit the small side hopper and didn't quite get the damage boost. Being a little bit safer with that room. I don't blame him. You kind of get ambushed there coming through the door without being able to defend yourself right away.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Metroid MST finishing off front of escape, not setting up a death warp or anything like that. With a sword, it'd make it a lot easier to go through to the Dark Cross, potentially all the way through to the back, but figures it's not worth the time to set up the death warp, and I don't blame him for that at all. Of course, it'd be out of logic anyway. There's a chance he won't ever have to do the Dark Cross, or could do it faster later, so definitely makes sense to skip and go back to Super Metroid. Okay, and so Metroid MST turning off his high jump boots. That tells me he's going to wreck ship. Or at the very least checking the lower ocean item. Very interesting. Probably turning that off to get the CWJ set up here.
And with an E-Tank there, would you continue on, or
I mean,
would you turn around and head down Red Tower?
I personally wouldn't. I like the Scout of the Mode item for sure. I definitely would do that.
I think we have our answer already, though.
He's going for it. At least now he's got 2 E-Tanks and a reserve all filled up. With Screw Attack also, that does help out quite a bit, making Fantoon a lot safer.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Super Metroid, speedrunner and you do New Route, this is a fine amount of health. So it's no longer a scary, dangerous amount. It's just not a casual, comfortable amount either. And doing this out of logic is a little interesting, but it could very well be a matchup dependent thing. That he expects that Alucard, being like balanced for both games and doing a lot of randomizers, but not particular in the speedrunning scene, might not be as familiar or used to this fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of variables that go into the decisions that any runner would make, whether it be a metagaming situation like that, or the possibility of just simply, hey, you know what? I can do this. I'm right here. As to borrow one of your phrases earlier, Ace, might as well consider it a crystal dungeon of sorts. So I guess the short answer could also just be, why not?
Yeah, for sure. It's the only tricky thing with this wreck ship is that it is so long to do the whole thing, and all this out of logic this early. If you don't get something good out of it, it's going to feel really bad, even if the fight's done really well. Looks like Alucard going over. I doubt he'll continue, but he's going to at least grab the E-Tank here off the moat.
Almost.
Yeah, the high jump getting in his way here makes it a little bit harder to get that far because you bonk your head a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And smartly turning that off, just like Metroid MST did. He's having a little trouble with his Dopplers on Phantoon, but getting through the fight, making progress, just not quite as quick as he'd like it to be, I'm sure.
So Alu's got his E-Tank, and he's heading back out and down Red Tower. Staying in logic is certainly commendable. I think, to a point, breaking logic also is as well.
Yeah, I think it depends on your mindset, and for one, just keeping track of what's in and what's out of logic, and being able to use that as an advantage. So, for example, if Metroid MST were to find something here, say he finds space jump over here, well he won't.
You were saying, do go on, please enlighten us further, Ace.
That would have made it more likely that he finds grapple or speed booster or gravity suit, another means to get to wreck ship. But since Alucard found the space jump, that's not happening here in wreck ship. It does put immediately everything that MST's doing in logic.
I was just gonna ask, not to play the I'm still new at this card, but I don't know the logic as well as some other people. That the space jump, that does put wreck ship in logic, then, does it not?
Yep, it sure does. And of course, Alucard does have the option to go back up and do that, but not surprising to continue down.
Seems fine, honestly.
Yeah, he's going to be able to check X-Ray, which is nice, and then continue down to Spazer, Kraid's Lair, probably check high jump and rescue the old man on Death Mountain.
Mm-hmm. And chat pointing out while I looked away for a moment, MST finding the speed booster in wreck ship immediately post Phantoon.
That's really good. That's another reason not to go to wreck ship early is if you don't have the speed booster, you're going to necessarily be orphaning an item.
Mm-hmm. That's true. We can just clear this all out at once now.
Power Glove at X-Ray. That's a surprisingly not that trolly location due to Space Jump being so close to it, but normally it'd be a bad spot.
Immediately next in the sequence.
But anyways, I was going to mention that, yeah, not having speed booster might be a good reason to shy away from wreck ship. But having it in here, you're going to be able to get every check, including that wreck ship reserve location. Nothing, luckily, at wreck ship E-Tank, except for that's our 4th bottle. Is that right? Or is that 3?
That's correct. All 4 of them. You remember when we said you're not going to need to worry about the one on the island? Well, very soon after, that's all of the proof of it we can provide.
Yeah, that's 3 of them that I don't think we're going to see either runner pick up, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
I would agree
so
with
unusual.
that. So I think one of my favorite instances of having screw attack early is this room right here that MST is in, especially with relatively low health. It just makes it basically a walk in the park.
Yeah, for sure. The attic is one of those rooms that is a lot of fun to see executed done well. It's one of those that I'm always really impressed with the top tier runners as they breeze through that. It's a little bit less flashy with True Attack. It's kind of just consistent and simple, but it's fun to see that done well with just ammo kills on all those enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 30 tank, so officially enough for once we get Various Suit, enough for Mother Brain.
So we have one SM boss down for MST. Alu approaching his first right now. Kraid generally pretty quick.
Yeah, even if you don't get the quick kill, it's still a fairly quick fight. That speed booster also paying off for MST by being able to check these sky missiles a lot faster since he doesn't have space jump. It's a nice Kraid fight by Alu though. Nails
Beautiful.
the quick kill.
And just finding a couple of bombs as a prize.
Now, I don't know the damage values from these spikes, but Metro MST is farming up so that he can survive the pre-bowling room. Getting some really bad drops. I mean, that's a lot of missiles from those bugs and from these enemies. Wow. Okay, because those pancakes tend to drop a lot of large health, so he got one small health, and then the rest were just missiles and supers. Yeah, it looks like he's going with it. Should be okay. Yeah, just 60 damage per hit.
And makes it out. Very nice. Calculated.
More drops, yeah.
Now, I'm curious, though. Does he have enough health to check the wreck ship reserve? Or did he do that before?
I missed if he scouted it, but he can still scout it without using a Shine Spark. If he
can you?
wants
Okay.
to. I don't know how much is in his reserve, but if it's full, he should have enough to get up there anyway.
Okay. That
Yeah,
was full. Yeah, that's good.
Ooh, there's our
The
first
spacer
beam.
for Alu over at high jump. And another
Best
E-tank.
beam- The best beam until you get plasma.
That's what they say.
Not really a whole lot other than that speed booster here at Wreck Ship. Finishing off with an E-tank, which is handy for that health refill.
Mm-hmm.
And just because we're still so low on E-tanks. But other than that, just the speed booster and a bunch of garbage.
Alu's gonna actually head over, take a look at Ice Beam. I know he generally likes to stay in Logic. This one, very quick. Doesn't really take you too far out of your way since you go straight back to Business Center as it is. So this is one that you see him do frequently enough.
Yeah, this one's nice because unlike a lot of the other Hell runs that you can opt to do, even with only 4 E-tanks, you don't really have to farm or worry about wasting time on it. Things can go bad in this Crumble Tower, but if you're careful going into the room, as you see Alucard jumps to make sure he doesn't fall immediately, it's not a problem. Oh, and he saved before he did that too, so he can just reset. Okay.
That makes it even better then.
I didn't see the save, but that's a heads-up play. We see that space jump on MST's side. Looks like he's going to continue down the red tower and do some of the same checks. Probably go through Kraid's lair. And follow just behind Alucard, but with the advantage of having done Wreck Ship already.
So we'll get to see what's on top of Spectacle Rock, not having a mirror, unable to get it at the moment. Good knowledge, though. We'll see what's inside of it. Rescue the old man. So there's another E-Tank. Perhaps convenient to pick up later, perhaps forgotten entirely.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on how late Mirror is, if they have to come back to Death Mountain for anything else. If it's on the way and they're low enough or still missing a suit, they'll probably pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely not going to be worth an extra trip for any reason. Just like that shield that they're not going to pick up from inside Spectacle Rock Cave.
The difference is that shield will not be picked up pretty much regardless of anything.
So we're getting close to Dark World access. Metroid MST is going to get his glove, so both runners will be either a hammer or another glove away from Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
Or potentially some Meridia access away from Dark World. Or Aghanim access is another possibility, I suppose. But hopefully, for the runner's sake, they don't have to deal with any of those roundabout ways of getting to the Dark World.
Of course, at this point, you hope that Hammer is going to be your logical access to the Dark World, just for the several access points around the world. Mit's fantastic, great, but it does limit you in where you can enter from. But with this item loadout, too, having Hookshot, it would also open up all of the Dark Death Mountain checks. So each item, each form of Dark World access would provide its own benefit in a case like this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a Fire Rod, first fire source. Doesn't really do anything for us at the moment, but definitely cool to have.
Yeah, we still don't know a Dark World dungeon, so we don't know if it's technically required. We might have potentially... Oh, there's the hammer. Top Paradox.
Mm-hmm.
So East Death Mountain was a good play here. But anyways, Turtle Rock and Skull Woods could both potentially be pendants. Ice Palace could be beatable with the Bombos Medallion, so we might not need that Fire Rod, but very likely we will. It's very rare that that's not required.
So this alone will get us access over to Tower of Hera, the first crystal, which, having a fire source, fully beatable. Could choose, of course, to do the Hera Pot glitch at some risk, but nonetheless, it is fully beatable, so we can get both items out of the dungeon. Saw a Master Sword up on that floating island, which that's an item that you come back for later on, assuming you don't have Tempered by the time that... Assuming that that's not going to become your butter, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's nice to know that that's a really good one because you can not worry about looking for sword. It kind of eases. You're not going to be in that sword go mode, which is always that awkward position of how many things do I check looking for my master sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really nice placement too, being on the way to Ganon's Tower once the time comes.
Looks like Metroid MST having a little trouble with the Kraid quick kill. Yeah, from how good his movement's been so far, he's having a little trouble with the two bosses that he's faced at this point. But again, it's a very quick kill to clean up, even when things aren't quite optimal at the beginning, taking out some frustration.
And then some, yeah. Small key, compass. I know that we've seen one item in that first basement, so Alu's hoping right now that... wow, not Helmasaur. That's not this dungeon, and this is not Animizer. Maldorm. That thing. Hoping Maldorm's gonna have item number 2.
Alu didn't do the bomb jump over to that big chest. Opting to use the hook shot instead, and then just falling down to come back around. Losing a little bit of time, but definitely not one of the options that you can use to get to get that chest. Not
Yeah,
really
I know that Alu would prefer to take the more consistent path of that rather than risk falling into the pit. So just 3 hits with the hammer. Once Maldorm cooperates, not too bad.
Nicely done.
Very. And a map.
Alright, so we do have an item locked in the basement. And with the fire rod certainly available.
I know that I would go for it. I'd imagine this early on, you don't really want to skip locations.
Yeah, I very likely wouldn't. You could definitely make a case for either way. My thing at this point personally would be that it's a long check, and you're definitely going to be back up Death Mountain again. You have all of Dark Death Mountain available. It's going to be available at some point, including Ether Medallion and Spike Cave. Well, Spike Cave or Spiral Cave, because you could do one of them right now and leave the other. Actually, I don't know if they have enough safeties for Spike Cave.
I don't believe so. Even with that bottle,
it's not full.
There's nothing in it right now. So
yeah, so you could probably route this in later, but it's simply a personal choice. You could make good arguments for either.
There we go. We got those double heartbeats back. Alu's setting up for a death warp out of here. As opposed to a save and quit. He knows that he's still got Spiral Cave available. Just a red rupee to basically nobody's surprise.
Yep,
and NST, on the other hand, over in Upper North there, without Varia, making a little hell run. Not too bad, plenty of health, certainly plenty of skill to be able to handle this. And Speed Booster, of course, just mitigating the heat damage just a bit more by getting through these rooms faster.
Yeah, with Speed Booster, I think this makes a lot more sense than without it. He's able to go through the Frog Speedway, which barely drains any of your health whatsoever, and can get through these checks around Bubble Mountain area pretty quickly. That's a really nice refill. It's going to cut down some farming time. And he's definitely capable of getting in and out of the Wave Beam location, in and out of the Norfair Reserve without too much trouble, so...
For sure.
We'll just see a little quick farm here. This makes sense after his wreck ship play. He's probably thinking, okay, I didn't really get anything that directly helps me right now, so I'm going to keep pushing out of sequence, pushing my, skills and the things I can do out of logic in Super Metroid, and maybe get a more concrete advantage. And yeah, we do see the lamp on Alu's side.
It's another E-Tank. Wow, this hell run is just being very kind to MST right now.
Kind of surprised he didn't grab that E-Tank on the way back from this Wave Beam item.
That would have been interesting.
He doesn't have Wave Beam, so he'd have to do the gate glitch or with missiles or turn around and fall down anyway. Regardless, he's got plenty of health to get to the Norfair Reserve with no trouble.
Got a Dark World map. We've got a red crystal at Thievestown, green pendant at Skullwoods, and a blue pendant at Turtle Rock. Thanks, Alu, for the map check, leaving it up long enough for us to read it. So, interesting, you were saying about that fire rod maybe not being required. We actually do not have requirement for it in 2 of our Dark World dungeons. And depending on Bombos location, perhaps not for Ice Palace either. It's tough to say right now, but it's interesting to see nonetheless.
Yeah, it really is. And we see nothing really at Norfair Reserve. ShyGuy wasting precious health, shooting super missiles at that reserve tank. It's almost vanilla. And Hype Cave wasn't really hype either. That was a shield and missiles and a bunch of garbage.
Spring Ball was there at least. We can do the jumpy thing now.
Spring Ball's nice.
It's something. It's at least a unique item.
Sure, I'd call it hype, but it's nice. It's got its uses. Doesn't do anything logically. Even most of the... There's some cases where even though it's not logically required, it can speed things up. For example, using a spring ball jump to get up the screw attack room as opposed to like an infinite bomb jump. It'd be faster, but we have space jump, so that's not going to come into play or anything like that. Same with... If they opt to go to... They could opt to go to Suitless Meridia and use it. There's a lot of really silly uses that they could get spring ball to do work for them, but...
Sure.
Just mostly going to save on power bombs and not waiting for bombs to explode is the big advantage I think we're going to see.
So while Metroid MST is going to clean up the mountain checks, eventually find a hammer and a fire rod, and even the lantern. It's certainly not bad items here. Alu's already over in Palace of Darkness, and will be making way toward Crystal number 2 in a very dense Dark World dungeon. A lot of opportunity here. But at this point, of course, no guarantee of progression. The world is pretty much wide open to us, so could just be an empty choice here.
Yeah, I think it's a really good starting spot though, especially going into the Dark World to check Hype Cave and do the map check. Seeing this being a crystal, with bow and hammer and lamp already, you've got plenty of health, blue mail, silver arrows, so Helmasaur is not a threat.
No doubt.
It's not do this dungeon now.
Yeah, it's a fantastic choice. There's a lot of flexibility with this item layout of where you could have started, and it would have been very hard to choose incorrectly, I think.
Yeah, the big advantage of this starting point is that you get a lot of items right away as soon as you hit Dark World. Whereas if you were to walk around and start with the Skullwoods Thieves Town, it's a long walk to get to Dark World. Just around
that's
the portal.
Already helping us out in a big way here with the mirror. We know it's required, being that Swamp Palace is a crystal. Just need flippers, and then that's fully accessible. There's actually... That would actually make a third crystal dungeon that we can full clear right now once we find those flippers.
Yeah, and Mirror just makes everything else nicer too, including this dungeon. If depending on the way things work out, we'll likely see a mirror from... Well, maybe not. We might see the boss first. We might see Helmasaur, then the back of the dungeon. Well, that's an interesting mirror. I'm not sure that's a optimal use right there. Because with Hammer, you could just drop down and then transition left to the arena, and then head up to the back.
You could have. There's a lot of ways to play this dungeon. Perhaps he was thinking, I don't have the boots, I can't bonk onto that ledge to easily hit the crystal switch. Maybe you don't feel like dealing with all of the beetles. Might have been a touch faster, but personally, I find those beetles to be pretty annoying, so...
Yeah, that's certainly fair. That makes sense. Yeah, and I get doing the back of this dungeon first, just in case you find something to speed up the trip to Helmasaur King. There's also the argument, though, of doing the opposite, that getting an item on Helmasaur King might give you a little bit more insight of where the map or compass may be, could prevent you from opening a chest over here.
Sure. Yeah, you could wind up finding item number 6 then prior to full clearing it, and then just mirror out, save yourself a little bit of time, but...
We do see Metroid MST setting up the Harapot on his side. I like this play. It's certainly not required with the big key there, but does speed up the dungeon if you're able to get it. Looks like he's having a little bit of trouble with his setup. The first one looked correct, but he was facing the wrong direction without boots to be able to do a dash turn. He couldn't correct that. It cuts out a couple rooms, including this room, which can be tricky until you learn a good script or pattern for it. Other than that mirror, nothing looks like it's any good here in Pod. And Compass is going to be on Helmasaur King.
You know, if nothing else, mirror at least makes routing this dungeon more convenient.
Yeah, for sure. It saves that, what would have had to have been either a walk back around or a death warp from the Kadangos around the big chest. So that's really nice to have.
So we'll see.
Yeah, Mirror further opens up what Alucard's options are after this. Meanwhile, we can speculate on what Metroid MST is going to do after Hera. I'm guessing he's going to go Dark World as well. But we'll see. Like you said, DT, he's got a couple options that are definitely... There's not a wrong one to start his Dark World adventure.
Yeah, I mean, even with Skull Woods being a pendant, you only have the one crystal in that northwest Dark World area. But even that is still a fantastically dense area. Skull Woods itself, not usually a long dungeon to clear, and being Green Pendant could incentivize a play there either way. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, really no wrong starting point in this Dark World. It's fully open. Of course, that mirror opening a couple of more obscure things. For instance, Alu could, once he's done with Palace of Darkness, go toward Catfish, and then walk back down, hookshot across the river, mirror to Graveyard Ledge, for instance. One of the things that's kind of annoying to route in later on, I feel anyway. Just gives him a little bit more versatility in how he wants to do things.
Yeah, for sure. It does look like we're seeing the same play from Metroid MST, again being thorough, checking the Hera basement here. Another nice Moldorm fight from him. So it looks like neither runner having too much trouble with the big worm.
No, it went well. And also going well is that Helmasaur fight. Just quickly knocking off that mask and getting that one silver arrow in. And crystal number 2 for Alucard 2004. And he's just going to save and quit out. I'm wondering, one thing that's been on my mind for a bit here is that we haven't seen Back of Escape. Now, we know the map was in the Sanctuary chest, so chances of it being... I don't think we've seen Dark Cross either. So we could get 3 full items here. I don't remember if the small key was found in the front half of Escape.
I can't remember. Looks like Metroid MST not setting up for the Death Warp. Either forgetting that or just choosing not to. So he's got to backtrack a little bit through Hera, losing a little bit of time that Alu didn't have to spend.
You can't go that way, Alucard.
Alright, so that does mean the key is in the Dark Cross.
Right.
So that's actually really nice.
Yeah, nice to not have to go there, just to be able to deduce that right away. Plasma, of course, pretty good pickup.
Oh, and interesting, Alucard, instead of going to the Thieves Town, Village of Outcasts area, clearing that crystal, he's going to clean up some Super Metroid checks. Probably going to be going to Wreck Ship. Since it is in logic with Space Jump, he's got a sufficient number of E-Tanks now. It's much less dangerous than the first opportunity he had to do it.
And starting with the Power Bomb pack here, it's only regular missiles. Not having Space Jump at any previous time to be able to come up here, Metroid MST did not check this location, showing no consequence for it now that we know what it is. But you never know if something like that down the road, an hour from now, hour and a half from now, might start to weigh on you a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, at this point, Alu more than equipped for anything the Wreck Ship could throw at him. And we've got MST immediately going over to the Back of Escape as well.
Yeah, Alucard might still be concerned a little bit about the Wreck Ship Reserve location, but lucky for him, he's going to get the speed booster on his way there, so won't have to leave that behind. Not that it's valuable anyway. I think it was just a heart or bombs or something not important.
I want to say it was a regular missile pack, but yeah, I mean, like you said, something not important, right? I don't know. I get enough seed blurred in what I'm playing. It's just tough for me to remember what we see a half hour, 40 minutes prior to. Not that it was that long ago, but
oh, for sure.
You get the idea.
And we do see another bit of divergence here. Looks like MST is going to be going to Dark World through the Kakariko portal.
See, purely from a commentary standpoint, I like this because it gives the viewers a handful of new information to see, and a whole lot of wonder. Like, oh, well, he could find something here that just like breaks something wide open. And when's Alu gonna get there? And it's just a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah, for sure. And he's checking the bottle on the way into Dark World. Don't believe we've seen that yet. It might have been a nice opportunity for him to check the shovel on the way into Kakariko.
Mm-hmm.
Out from Link's house instead of Sanctuary. Especially if he's not going to worry about the health anyway. He opted not to get the health refill from Sanctuary. So hopefully that shovel doesn't elude him being out of the way at any point in time here.
And a Quake medallion.
Interesting.
Only one crystal dungeon that may be required for entry. Of course, we never know if that pendant TR dip might be a thing as well, and of course, knowledge of what medallions we actually need is perhaps a ways off still. So nothing immediate. One of those nice to have things though. Gives you a little bit less to worry about as we go down.
Yep. Now it looks like Metroid MST might have just forgotten that he had the shovel sitting here because he's walking back around to it, and this is certainly not an optimal route. I think he just forgot that he had his inventory until he was doing other fetch quests and realized, oh, I should check that as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, good to get those out of the way all at once. Certainly helps make it a bit convenient. And, well, I guess we're probably not going to be seeing an Outcast play. MST's heading down here. We'll take this portal, probably check Hype Cave, possibly head over to Palace of Darkness as well. I guess Aghan is always an option too, huh?
Yeah, this is a really interesting play with how dense. I don't think I agree with this play, but I understand it for sure. I know it's an earlier sphere of the logic, and I think that's what he's leaning into as well, like checking some earlier available checks rather than the Dark World ones that just opened up to him. But it is a long walk just for one item, where Hype Cave is right there. That's 5 that just are immediate. It gives you so much information about what dungeons you need and how you can help you plan your route for more of the mid to late game.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately just bombs. Doesn't really get a good payout from it either. Yeah, and of course you never know how he's feeling about the seed. He might feel really behind for one reason or another. Didn't really get any progression from his Upper Norfair Hell run, knowing that's out of logic. Might be thinking, well, there's no way my opponent did that out of logic stuff and wasted all that time, so I gotta push something that I haven't done yet. Or maybe he just doesn't realize he has Dark World access. I don't know. That could be a thing. I know that's something that's happened to me before, that you forget you got Pearl so early that you don't realize Dark World's on the table.
Sure. I mean, I think it's safe to say it's something that's happened to every runner at one point or another. Even if it's something as simple as a tracker not responding when you click on something. But either way, we're seeing some new checks right now, so that's exciting. Fake Flipper up to Hobo. Hopefully we'll get to see the Zora area at the time as well.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't go to Zora or doesn't go to Waterfall Cave, that kind of confirms that he doesn't realize he has the Pearl, if that's the case. That like I said, that maybe it's just a personal thing, but I know that's happened to me multiple times.
You know, yeah, that would actually be a really good conclusion to draw from that, because you can't get the waterfall cave chests if you don't have Moon Pearl if you're fake flippering in. But we're gonna see a fake flipper back out, so hopefully this is myth debunked.
Alright, MST is going into Waterfall Cave. So perhaps just being thorough, or yeah, I'm not sure his decision on putting off Light World, but there's the Various suit. That's a really nice find. So
seeing that pay off immediately.
Yeah, and knowing that's out of logic could be really handy. He's going to know that he's not going to find flippers anywhere that's locked behind the Various suit. So if he, for some reason, ends up being low on locations and needing flippers, he's not going to have to full clear a bunch of, Norfair looking for that. Could certainly be an advantage later on. Especially with Swamp and Ice being like the two biggest time differences probably between go mode and full clears. If it somehow comes down to, needing those flippers, he can kind of rule out some locations. And I guess I'm kind of thinking backwards, aren't I? That's never mind. Disregard what I was saying.
No worries. So Alu going bowling at the moment. Just these couple of last things in Wrecked Ship. And then moving on for him, I'm curious to know what's next. He's pretty much done everything, or at least most of the things that he can at this point in SM. So I assume a trip back to A Link to the Past is going to be next for Alucard.
Yeah,
and MST, I guess, going to turn into Mushroom is my best guess for this situation as well. Something else we have not seen yet.
Yeah, I don't believe this is as fast as a save and quit back to Sanctuary, but it's pretty close. Either way, it kind of feels slow, and it's not the best overworld movement to do. It kind of just feels bad, but if it's your progression, then you have to do it anyway, right? So definitely worth checking. And it was very early on. I think that was...
It was in the dam.
Star loop, wasn't it? Oh, it was in the dam.
In the dam, yeah, that was really quick.
Okay.
Three on buying a blue potion, though.
He definitely could have opted to throw a bottle into the waterfall cave and fill it up with a green potion for free. I know I like to do that, especially if it's early on and I don't have half magic, and that magic usage can be really handy later in the game. It's a nice feature to know. That's something specifically for the SMZ3 that both Waterfall Fairy and the Pyramid Fairy refill your bottles with green potions every time guaranteed. So it's consistent and you can rely on that.
So we'll see now MST actually going back into Super Metroid with that Varia suit. It's curious to me, just seeing two very different playstyles that we have. Alu, who I know likes to stay as in logic as he can for a lot of situations, and MST doing a handful of things out of logic. I don't think there's any one that's more correct than the other as long as results happen. But it's definitely a clash of the schools of thought here.
Yeah, absolutely. And as long as you keep up with the logic, like you said, there's not a right or wrong way to do it, but if Metroid MST keeps up with the logic and knows, especially if it becomes a long chain, it gets harder and harder to keep track of what is and isn't in logic. But if you can keep that all straight, then this is a very, very strong choice. because it looks like his mindset's more just what can I clear? How do I clear as much as I possibly can and as big of a chunk as possible? You know, not
Right,
what's in
and
logic, but just where can I just cluster everything together to just plow through the game as fast as possible.
and no doubt some people have more of a preference or more comfortability. Is that even a word? They're more comfortable in one of these games over the other. So that could be playing into these decisions as well. Certainly some very sharp Metroid execution, at least in my opinion. So I can see these plays making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And just from what I've seen from this race alone, it looks like I would have to say that Alucard's a little bit more balanced of a player, whereas Metroid MST appears to be stronger in Super Metroid. Obviously, both are proficient in both games. I haven't seen any real issues or struggles with either. I think that might be a factor here in MST's mindset. Obviously, Metroid is in his name, right? So,
and that must mean something.
That's his name game.
So, Canis Amaria behind Crocomire. Good item to have. Yeah, it's one of those good things to find early.
I'm not sure I agree with all the extra ammo usage and extra damage that MST is taking here. I know, like, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in your emotions while you're playing a game, but that health is a resource that, even if he's not going to take a death, like being able to have extra health to spend on damage boosts or not farming up for any point in time later on could be useful later. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite him.
We'll hope not. All we can do is wait and see. Fortunately, for the meantime, I don't think that there's any immediate threat for the areas that MST is in. So perhaps just having a little bit of fun in the downtime. And picking up a Book of Medora a moment ago as well. Opening up Desert Palace, possibly being able to clear it, could give us that knowledge about the potential for a boot requirement. And then Alu about to check some new locations for us as well in a moment.
For Alu that we saw earlier. So he's got that Quake medallion. That's good. If that's required, elude him. Medallions are a hard one to look for. They can be just about anywhere.
And you know, I think one of the worst feelings you can have is you find two medallions, you say to yourself, you know, yeah, I'm in go mode. You go to Misery Mire, and it's the one that you don't have. It's like, well, now you got to look for it.
Yep. And that's a almost vanilla grapple beam. It is behind Croc, but at the cosign room instead of its vanilla spot. Yeah, here we see MST having to farm up a little bit, or opting to farm up. I'm actually curious what he's farming for. If he needed the health, there's a health refill station very close by. He's pretty set on most of his other ammunition. Yeah, grapple beam is kind of annoying sometimes. It's got its uses. It can help with farming quite a bit sometimes, but it gets in the way of your menuing. And it also potentially puts Shack Tool in logic, which you usually don't want either.
So are we seeing a Lower Norfair play here?
You know what? I guess
I think we...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I guess as he goes through the room, as I ask the question, we answer my question immediately. So.
Yeah, I saw someone mention that in chat a little bit ago, and I was going to mention that he doesn't need to farm health or take damage down for Crystal Flash because of the energy refill on the way. I guess he was farming up his supers potentially to do Gold Chorizo without having to farm too much afterwards. This is a really interesting play this early. He's got high jump, he's got various suits, so it's not particularly slow. And he's got potentially everything he needs to do Meyer if it's locked by the Quake Medallion.
That's true.
This early could potentially just lead to another lava dive later on to go back to Meyer, because there's no guarantee that the flute's going to be available or the mitts will be available before completion of that dungeon.
That's also a possibility. So an interesting, risky play. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out, though. It's been if it works, awesome. Hopefully, we don't have to make that sort of a double dip later on. But
right. Yeah, I also agree with chat that with someone in chat mentioning that he could have opted to save scum his gold Chorizo check. I think that would have been a good idea. His super count's kind of in that in-between range where he's got enough that it's not going to be a big issue to use a bunch of super missiles here. He's not going to have to farm all the way back up, but he's going to have to farm at least a little bit before Ridley. So it could potentially be a time sink. If he was at 20 or 30 super missiles, I'd say absolutely you'd save and save scum these checks. If he was at 60 super missiles, I'd say you don't do it, and you've still got enough after the fight to continue on through. But
yeah, nothing at any of these GT locations. I'll take a dip over to Meyer, take a look, see what this medallion is. Hasn't been to Pod yet, so unfortunately not able to even enter Desert Palace at the moment. That mirror was in Desert. Ether is the medallion today for Misery Meyer, and Alu finds the flippers in Thievestown Big Chest.
Okay, so that would put the Varia suit in Logic.
That does put Varia in Logic. It also gives Alu that another crystal to do. He's on a pretty good train of crystals at the moment, and I suspect he's going to keep following that.
Yeah, I think the tricky part for MST here is that the further he gets away from the logic chain, the more things that can't be found by the checks he's doing or unlikely to be found. Because what he's doing now is it's locked by obviously the flippers that he doesn't have to get the Varia suit, but the lava dive is also locked by either gravity suit or the mitts and flute to get from Link to the Past. So.
So no matter how you slice it, we're still a couple of items out of Logic at this point.
Yeah, so that's 2 or 3 items that we can guarantee he's not going to find, that even from what he knows, not being aware of where the flippers are, he knows that if he knows he's not going to find flippers here, he knows he's not going to find Varia or the combination of flute, mitts. Sorry, did I say Varia? I meant gravity.
You've said Varia and gravity a few times. Because, it all relates.
Yeah.
We've been talking about a lot of items and a lot of logic chains at this point, so. All good. What's interesting to me, then, is that if there's that many items that we know can't be in Lower Norfair, and we've seen the location of a couple of items that we know are not in Lower Norfair,
yeah, there's a potential for this to be a go-modable part of the game, you could say. It's not too bad to clear this out when you're not in go mode anyway. Most things are pretty on path. So it's not like a huge time investment checking what's here in Lower Norfair. Meanwhile, the Bombos Medallion's a nice find. It's a nice find in that if it's required for Turtle Rock, then we have it. But hopefully we don't need to go to Turtle Rock. Actually, that may not be a nice find. It'll feel good for Alucard since it's one more chance that he's going to be able to enter Misery Mire. He has not scouted that entry requirement. The good thing about this Lower Norfair play is that in spite of having very few energy tanks early on, having some very surprisingly scary Brinstar clears from both runners, having take that very safe. MST is at no real risk of dying here in LN. 80 tanks is more than enough. Yeah, Flippers put Swamp Palace on logic. I like this play from Alucard. He's going to just continue to go through required crystal dungeons. Not really much else to say, just following the logic really well. You know, MST farming pretty efficiently here, doing a nice job of farming as he's going through that room to cut down on the amount of time he's going to have to spend here. But with Grapple, it's pretty quick farm. This is where that definitely comes in handy. Swamp Palace is going to feel a little slow, though. Without boots, only Fighter Sword for the boss is going to make Argus feel a little bit bad. There's just not a good way to do that fight with Fighter Sword. Whether you do spins or menu to hammer, likely we'll see Aloe doing spins, maybe grabbing two puffs at a time, but you might have to do left side of the dungeon first and get to that later. We'll see. ST having a little trouble getting grabbed by Ridley, but it damages him down to death really quickly.
Seemed like a really, really nice fight, all in all.
Yeah, I don't believe he missed a single super.
I can only dream. And another sword at the Ridley E-Tank, so that's cool. We know where a third one is, at least. And I think at this point, you comfortably are able to not look for a sword because we know that we're going to be able to get that third one right on the way to GT if we don't find one by then.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to mention, when you do the Ridley fight more with only 30 supers, you get in the habit of being careful and learning how not to miss too many shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doing RBO Ridley forces you to not miss shots. Yeah,
it's very good at making your execution get better, because you need to complete that kind of a run.
Yeah. It's one of those things that for someone who plays mostly randomizer seeds, you can get a little bit lazy, and it's hard to like push yourself to have that perfect fight. Not that it would have been a big deal if MST had missed one. He's got 80 supers, so or 80 missiles to back him up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're having a little trouble with that crystal switch there, I guess.
It just goes to show how slow this Swamp Palace is when you don't have boots, and knowing that the back half of the dungeon is much more loaded for items than the front. We'll see. His tracker is not looking too much different. Nobody's tracker is looking too much different, really, than even 20 minutes ago or so when we first got Darkhold access. Couple of key things, no doubt, but still looking for several other key things, such as mitts that would just open up so much more of the game to us, those last remaining areas. Gravity suit, of course, being another one.
Yeah, we still don't know if we need the boots yet. That's another one that could be a key item for Desert Palace.
Mm-hmm. Possibly GT too, but hopefully that's one that you try not to worry about much when you still have so much to go beforehand. Take that when you get there, worry about it then.
Oh, for sure. That's one of those things you can just play the odds, and chances are you're not going to need them. So
No doubt.
you can forget about it. If you need them, you can search GT because that's the most dense location where they could be anyway at that point in time. And then if you finish GT and still don't have them, and you need it for that torch, then you panic.
So at this point for MST, I believe this is the one remaining check in all of Norfair. Take a quick look at it. It's just 20 rupee, just a red. So what's next if you're MST right now? Obviously, a lot of A Link to the Past is available, and I think that's probably undoubtedly where we'll wind up seeing them go. But where do you start? Now that we have some knowledge about a few things in the world, where the flippers are, the mirror, it's like you can start analyzing like which would be more beneficial for him to start at, and kind of what happens if you start at one over the other. Does it really matter?
I think that the best is to start at Link's house and do Hype Cave to Pod with bow, hammer, lamp. I think that it's surprising how late he's done this, and probably feeling pretty bad about all that clearing he did and not really finding a whole lot out of Logic and Lower Norfair, or Upper Norfair for that matter. But he doesn't really have a lot that he didn't have when he first got Dark World access.
Right, King of Samaria may be the big one, but at this point, what does that do?
Looks like Alucard playing a little safe here with the single spins. The double spins hitting two puffs with the same spin can be kind of tricky. It's very easy to accidentally poke when you try to grab them, and then the sword drops and you don't get any damage in.
Yeah, it's more consistent to just go this way. It's a nice little rhythm that you get going, and it doesn't take too much longer.
Yeah, it's only a little bit of time loss. Definitely faster still than menuing to hammer.
Oh, for sure. And you get a much better hitbox with that spin than the hammer would give too. Absolutely. And then just the one silver, nice. Just a heart piece though, so correct me if I'm wrong, Ace. This Swamp Palace had nothing.
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
So it makes you wonder, what's next for us? We don't have myths to go into Ice Palace. Can't do any Dark Death Mountain. Pyramid Fairy is in Logic, and we see Alu heading north. That's got to be it then. Catfish, I don't know that we've seen that. Or did we after Pot? I don't remember if Alu did that. No, he saved and quit after that.
No, we did not see Catfish yet.
So no, we haven't seen Pyramid either.
This is a nice set of checks, a nice way to route these things together.
Nice little cluster, yep.
Yeah, and then he'll get his various suit. We'll see if Alucard opts to do Norfair. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he went to Upper Norfair. Don't expect to see a lava dive from him to do Ridley at this point.
I would not expect that either. Skullwood still on the table, 2 items plus green pendant.
Oh yeah, it's also point out in chat the bumper cave. I don't think we saw that, did we? I don't recall that being scouted out, but the cape was in Swamp Palace, so there is a chance that's required for that.
And perhaps it's, having that in mind could incentivize a play up to Skullwoods, just to be able to get that information. Not finding anything in Pyramid Fairy. Supers aren't going to be bad, of course. Still not having charge. That's fine to have another 5 supers. I mean, you gotta think too. After finding the book behind Croc, I mean, we've got all of the book checks available. So options are there. Even if getting around the world at this point is gonna kind of not feel great to have to make those checks.
Yeah. Well, only one sword in logic, though. So the tablets won't be in logic with the book yet. MST is going to be able to do it when he gets them.
So generally, I think getting information is a good thing, but in the case of checking out the tablets, then that's when I'd be a bit more hesitant on just making the trip just to read them, but we'll see. There's enough to do in the meantime that we don't have to fully rely on that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting to note how many more rupees that Alucard has. I know he routed a little bit more of them in early on, in particular by doing the bush crab farming in Kakariko. We noted that MST was 3 rupees shy of being able to buy a blue potion, whereas Alucard had over 1,000.
Over 1,000. Might have gotten a few of those X99 dreams when nobody was looking.
Although he hasn't done Zora yet, so that's 500 of it that
right.
We have to...
Yeah, to be fair, MST lost all of that money from Zora, so... But either way, Catfish is a new check for us.
Yeah.
Curious to see what this new information is going to bring. Typical. Again, to nobody's surprise. I do wonder, though, I think you're onto something, Ace, is that now that he's got Varia, once he's done with this Catfish stuff, I wouldn't be surprised to see just a save and quit, start from the mountain and go into Upper Norfair.
Yeah, you basically, you're going to want to save and quit anyway. I think, unless you're taking the Whirlpool to Ice Palace, which you can't do without mitts, or to the Mushroom Turn-In, which Alucard's already done, there's no other real reason to walk back out of here. You have to save and quit. So that definitely makes sense to me. Yeah, you noted the Skull Woods as an option too. That's probably the next most dense set of checks you could do.
It's a few things.
Items, since it's green pendant.
And then getting the bumper knowledge, as you had mentioned. I don't think we've seen Graveyard Ledge yet either, so that would have been a possible 5th. But there we go. That's pretty expected from Alu at this point. I just think the density of Upper Norfair and Croc is just much more appealing than Skull Woods for him at this point.
Oh, for sure. And some runners like to think of it as the progression chain being an order, and if it's further down the chain, it makes it more likely to lead to something else. For example, flippers led to Various Suit, which means the Various Suit would lead to another item more likely than another flippers check, for instance. That's the way some runners like to think about it, and of course it never perfectly works like that. It's not always a linear chain of progression, but it does tend to work that way in some cases. So having just found the Varia that's the furthest one down the chain, because it was locked behind flippers, which were behind Dark World, this makes sense as the next point to try to attack.
Yeah, I agree. And certainly a mindset that I have in some runs. It's really just a situational thing. I think it might be about the case for everybody. But as we've seen, there really wasn't anything here. Book of Medora is going to be and Cane of Samaria. Probably the only things out of this that we know that we'll need at some point.
Yep. It's like MST was having a little bit of trouble with that turtle room. Sometimes those guys get out of position. You try to hit one with a hammer, and the other ones flip over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky the way that they walk around.
Should have a nice, easy Helmosaur fight, though, to finish off the dungeon.
Oh yeah, 11 hearts, red mail. Certainly no threat. And Hummel goes down nice and easily. Nice and quickly.
Yep.
And to answer your question in chat, no, we have not seen the waterway yet back in Brinstar.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of a loose end that's hanging out there. That's really the only loose end. Since we did get X-Ray, basically we've got all of Meridia and Waterway are the only checks, I think, in SM. Is that correct, DT? I'm missing something.
That sounds about correct. Of course, chat, if there's anything that we're overlooking, of course, chime in, as you do. We're so thankful for. But yeah, Meridia, Waterway, those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, there's a couple others that sometimes get left that I know we've gotten, like X-Ray and Criteria Supers.
Mm-hmm. We've at least seen those. X-Ray, of course, having the only glove that we have at this point, so both runners having that.
So let's see where MST's headed. He's got his mirror. Looks like he's going to the Pyramid Ledge. Then possibly over to... I kind of like this play from him at this point in time. Since he was so late to Dark World, he probably wants to get some of these out-of-the-way overworld checks done on his way around the world. So instead of saving and quitting and then going directly to Village of Outcasts, he's going to do Pyramid Ledge, and equipping Hookshot kind of suggests to me that he's going to go around across the river.
I like this.
Graveyard Ledge.
Personally, I like this kind of a play. A lot of that's because I absolutely detest routing Graveyard Ledge in, especially without boots to speed it up. So this is, I mean, for lack of better phrasing, for me anyway, this is a good chance, a good excuse for me at least, to be able to route that in cleanly as I head over to West Darkworld. We'll see if he decides to do that after Catfish, though. Yep, I would suspect a strong possibility of it. That was nice of that skull to just kind of go between the ledge and the rocks.
Yeah, I did not know that could happen. That was
and it did.
Pretty silly thing to do.
You see it all the time in just random locations. Some enemy just like walking through a space that you otherwise shouldn't be able to get through.
Oh yeah, the mimics the mimics in particular do some funny things sometimes, especially in Enemizer Seeds.
Oh well, Enemizer is a whole ball game. Enemies in water rooms that don't have water normally, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, or if they spawn on the wall, like where they're supposed to be a bat, and they just moonwalk across out of the bounds of the game.
So, Alu picking up his book, MST back down at the point where you hookshot across. So,
yep.
Seems like everything's going back into the right direction for them at this point. We know that the flippers are in Thieves. That's going to open up a good amount. We'll be able to... it's an interesting thing to route through this graveyard with only the Power Glove. There's really only the one path, and it's convoluted. It does trip some runners up, because I've seen Titan's Mitts in Graveyard Ledge in some regular ALTTPR seeds. So a good bit of game knowledge knowing that you can get through there just fine with only the gloves.
Right, even boots would help out a lot, but we haven't seen the boots yet either.
No, we haven't. And it's possible we won't. I'm curious to see a desert play.
Yeah, that's one of those handful of locations we've got left. It's a cluster of items that seems pretty likely. It's just such a long walk to go all the way there without boots when you might just not be able to clear it anyway and have to leave immediately. So I certainly don't blame the runners for putting that off. But it is a crystal dungeon, so that makes it a little bit better potentially than a Skull Woods play. I think here MST would go into Skull before going to Thieves Town, Village of Outcasts. But for Alucard, I think Desert makes a little bit more sense once he's finished with his Upper Norfair checks.
Sure. Yeah, I can get behind that. That checks out to me. I don't think that we've seen what's on the desert ledge from either of our runners either. Just power bombs on top of Bumper Cave. MST did not check what was inside of the lumberjack tree early on, choosing to do that now.
Right.
Certainly efficient with the mirror.
Yeah, definitely adds a little bit more value to this North Dark World trip that he's taking.
And of course, just a shield, so not necessary. Not something you have to worry about at this point. I wonder if we're actually seeing an LN dip from Alu right now, too. This actually surprises me a bit. One thing that could be a very big difference is Alu having the mirror on his trip through Lower Norfair. If he goes to check out the Misery Mire area, being able to also take a look into Checkerboard.
Checkerboard and Desert. Yeah, I was thinking Desert seems likely. That's actually a really good point. I was thinking Desert's one of the best options that he has available anyway, so this is just a way to get there more efficiently, really. So I definitely like this from him. And he's got 2 of the 3 medallions. Unfortunately, it's not the one that he needs.
Right, yeah, we know that it's Ether.
But it seems more likely that he's going to get that ability to clear Mire on his way through.
And yet he's still running the same sort of risks that you had mentioned earlier, is that not being able to get into Misery Mire, we don't have an easy way back here yet.
No,
so,
not at all.
Interesting to see how it unfolds. You know, at this point then, if you're Alu, you see that it's Ether, you hope that you find Mitts and Flute at some point soon-ish. Otherwise, yeah, you know that another LN dip is imminent.
Yeah, either that or you hope for Ether in the rest of Lower Norfair, but we know that's not going to happen.
So I think Alu has about 10 more supers at this point than MST did coming through here. So we should be in a little bit better shape. Won't have to do as much farming after the fact.
Yeah, MST did a really efficient job of his farming, so it really didn't waste a lot of time. Maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds. So pretty negligible in a race that takes probably 2 to 3 hours from runners of this caliber. Well, definitely more than 2.
A minute at that point. Generally not being too much of a factor. He's not even going to check the medallion. We're just going straight to Checkerboard. All right.
Makes sense. I mean, you're already as far east on this screen as you're going to get, and if you're this many items out of go mode, do Checkerboard, then you'll look at the medallion on the way to the left, on the way to the Mire Shed. Oh, even doing Gagina first. Yeah, this also makes sense. So MST did this earlier. I forgot that hasn't done this check.
This is his, I believe, his first time over to the desert area at all. So.
Yeah, for someone that's a little confused, or anyone that's confused in chat that hasn't seen these races, these SMZ3s, basically the way this works is Super Metroid and Link to the Past are combined together via 4 different portals, and all the items for both games are shuffled between both games. And we saw Alucard took one of those portals from Super Metroid into Link to the Past. The runners will be going back and forth throughout the game. And the goal is just to complete both games as quickly as possible. All right, MST making his way through Thieves Town, and he's going to get his flippers in here. Yeah, there wasn't anything else that I'm aware of that was any good in this dungeon. The flippers were in the big chest. We'll get to those shortly.
Correct, yeah, and that mirror equipped indicates from Alu that, I mean, yeah, I think at this point you have to. You're here. It's about as convenient as it's gonna get. And just a missile pack on the ledge. But once again, new location, hopefully a couple of new items for us to find. We'll gain some knowledge about whether or not we need the boots to complete this dungeon. And flippers for MST. So, small key on the torch. There's a chance we'll find the big key in this chest here, but still logically required to have the boots then in order to not run the risk of any sort of a key lock. And there's the big key, so...
So he's going to clear the dungeon while he's here.
What's interesting is that we could potentially get both items still. If the big chest and Landmo have one.
Well, that's true.
That would be exceedingly ideal. There's one.
Oh, there's one.
Not a great one, but it's one all the same.
Even if they're both junk, I think you're really happy to see them.
Oh, for sure.
And MST getting a little bit off script on the blind fight. Plenty of health, though. Looks like he got the first 3 hits on script, and in the second phase, lost it a little bit, but it doesn't really take any damage. Cleans it up nicely. That's kind of been his story for boss fights. I think his movement's been great in both games, but he's having a little trouble with some of the bosses. But he's cleaned up his mistakes really well.
Yeah, in the end, finishing up everything that he started. You can't ask for anything more than that, really. Nothing's really slowed either of our runners down at this point. There's always been something that they've kept doing to keep moving and keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. And so just to add on to what you were saying about Desert being boots locked also, so we know that boots aren't going to be in GT, so if the key does happen to be on the torch there, that's going to be really nice if the runners remember that. If for some reason that happens where the key's on that torch, they don't have boots yet, they'll know not to clear the rest of GT basement looking for the boots.
Certainly information you can draw from that, no doubt. We got the map, so one of the items, we've got one that might just remain here. Getting back is actually not that bad, never mind. We had the book, so that'll be okay.
Yeah, still, and I guess if you come back for it, it means you definitely have boots, right? So they won't have to walk all the way on the overworld screen. They can use dash.
Hopefully even a flute by then.
True. So MST continuing his Dark World loop. He's gone all the way from Pod, all the way through the north side, through Village of Outcasts. Gonna check K45 and Stumpy. And then he's gonna have a decision. He's probably gonna go into Swamp Palace as well, I would imagine. Having just gotten those flippers in Thieves Town.
Right, Swamp makes the most sense. Clear out those crystals, you're right next to them. The interesting thing, though, is that as both of these runners are about to sort of flip spots, where Ali's doing something that MST's done and vice versa, what does that really leave us with? Because we know that we're not going to find progression in Swamp. We know that Ali's not going to find it in LN. So, what's that waterway, is my question.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the key spots. A waterway, Skull Woods, Bombos and Ether Tablet. I guess Spike Cave.
That's true, because we have the cape.
Yeah, I think MST is going to have a nice advantage of being able to check Bombo's tablet either on his way in or his way out of Swamp Palace. Either makes sense at this point.
Mm-hmm. And question is in chat. Tablets are out of logic. That is, at this point, correct, since the second sword that we have to obtain the items is also out of logic.
True, because the other sword, we know where a third sword is that's midst-locked.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, I forgot about that. So I guess tablets can't be our... Well,
I mean, they
could
could be something.
But
they could still be something, as long as, like, gravity... I guess it would need to be gravity at this point, yeah.
or
Is somewhere
could be mitts if gravity was... Because yeah, mitts or gravity suit gives us another sword.
Mm-hmm.
So like, technically either of those could be on a tablet.
So we'll see if Alu and MST have as smooth of a time as the other one did clearing out each of these respective areas.
Yeah, MST is almost certainly going to have a quicker Argus fight, having a better sword. Alu's really at the same position. He's got more super missiles, but other than that, really the same set of equipment for Lower Norfair.
Mm-hmm.
And just noting from just watching these guys for 2 hours, it's both are doing a terrific job in both games, but I would say that MST's movement is a little bit more smooth than Alu's through Metroid, and vice versa. Alu's had a little bit easier time with some of the Link to the Past movement.
And altogether, it makes for a really interesting race.
Yeah, it really does. It puts them right neck and neck as far as the competitiveness.
But even though we're 2 hours in, there's still a good handful of key items that could swing the race in anyone's favor. Certainly a couple of things that each runner has done that the other hasn't, and they're quickly working to close that gap together. So it's just a matter of who's gonna find that next piece of progression first, and what will it be? Alu's about to get his second sword after another very nice Ridley kill.
Yeah, so it looks like MST doing this nice diver down setup to be able to flood the key on the right side. Oh wow, that's a little bit different than what I normally see. But you can flood the key, set up the bomb to hit the pegs, hit the switch on your way through the door transition, and that way you don't have to go back to that main hub room. I haven't seen anyone do it quite like that, where he laid the Samaria block, and instead of buffering his movement in midair, he landed and then just pressed down right on the same frame. That's pretty bold. But he has to work really nice.
And how you can set that trick up. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, basically you jump off the stairs, you can buffer like a down right movement, and then when you pop back out of the water, it kind of wedges you between the Samaria block and the ledge. It's a little awkward, but with some practice, it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The big concern is getting bullied by the RNG if you get the Fire Snake or the Stalfos wandering over there while you're trying to set it up and be a pain.
Yeah, you just hope that they stay out of your way.
Yeah.
That doesn't... Usually the Fire Snake comes by for a moment.
Just when he goes around in little circles over there and just doesn't...
It just doesn't get out of it, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see the diver down set up in the back as well, where it saves a little bit more time due to not having to mess with the RNG, not having to mess with the bomb setup. The unfortunate thing about the Swamp Palace layout that gave both of our runners a little bit of trouble, by doing the left side first, Alucard had to go back for that big chest. And we'll see if MST opts to do the same thing. He might push on through to Argus and hope to leave that behind. DT, do you remember if that was a required item?
I do not.
Not
don't
any
quite
progression, but...
Well, right, but just like a non-dungeon item. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Trying to remember. It was right here.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was, but I think that with the big key in that location, you just go back and check it.
Yeah.
You can take this Mario block with you if you want. That's fine too.
By not having the big key, I kind of still like, even though the new meta tends to be to do left side first, I kind of like doing the back first. In the cases that you find that big key, it lets you check the big chest on your way back through to the left. That's still a potentially favorable outcome. And our tracker pointed out before he opened it that was bombs in the chest. Shouts to Link Force, our tracker, who's doing a great job of keeping up with what all these guys are finding throughout the game.
We'll see Diver down once more. It was so great the first 2 times, let's do it again.
Yeah, that's one of those things, too, that you can tell that just getting into the rhythm of doing it, he did it faster each of his 3 attempts. Maybe he hasn't done it in the recent seeds or just needed a refresher on it, but that was a really quick 3rd attempt. Just absolutely nails it.
So curious to see what Alu's up to. We know in this region there's Ether Tablet and Spike Cave. See if he grabs this E-Tank as well. I think he's like right on top of it, so that's a pickup. So again, if we do find something on this Ether Tablet, it is not in logic, since you need the Master Sword in order to get the item. And the Master Sword is still locked behind an item or 2. It's another E-Tank, so...
I think that's probably a safe number of E-Tanks now. I think Elu's at... He might be at 13 already. Maybe just 12. He's getting close.
Certainly a good number. And I would think that the most risky part of the game, being LN, is done and behind him now. Don't have to worry about the health that much. Not quite having enough hearts to do this safely. We'll equip the cape and just safely get through that last little bit. Titan's Mitts in Spike Cave. So that actually is our logical progression, since we got the cape as the safety for that from Swamp Palace.
Interesting.
And we see him immediately save and quit, heading southeast and heading toward Ice Palace. Makes sense. Just keep going for that crystal. There's nothing else to really do in SM at the moment.
Right, you've got the item dense cluster up on Dark Death Mountain, but this is a crystal dungeon. You can clear it. Clear the crystal dungeon first. I like this mentality. Especially 1 item or 2 items out of go mode. I'm not 100% sure of how comfortable Alu is with Dragon being suitless. It's certainly possible to do Dragon and get out with Grapple Beam, Spring Ball, High Jump Boots. It's not the hardest trick.
Oh, that could be interesting.
But yeah, I have seen runners actually in this tournament even do the grapple escape from Dragon, because there was at least one match where a runner did not find the gravity suit. They missed a location. And with the way MST's been playing, I would very much not be surprised that if he ended up go mode minus gravity suit, that he would do that.
So that being said, what else do we really need? We know that boots are logical, although they may not be required. Ether Medallion is perhaps the big one. Flute would, of course, be real quality of life, so that we can avoid going through LN again to get the Misery Mire. We
Yeah,
already
I think it's
found
just
one
Ether.
item in Ice Palace. There's 2 more. So there's a chance of finding something here.
The big pain, if they find Ether first, well, there's 2 big pains. One being that gravityless Meridia that I mentioned, but also getting back to Meyer would be a pain as well. If they get Ether but no Flute, that's a pretty long backtrack.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, in some way, I would almost hope to find Gravity as Go mode. Maybe Ether first, then Gravity as Go mode. Just to avoid, I mean, the entire region of Meridia, that you may not need to check that, if that's the case.
Yeah, and I think also I want to point out we did not see the Icebreaker from Alucard here.
That is
It
correct.
very well might have been just his magic situation. He was a little bit low on magic going into the dungeon, having used his cape for some of Spike Cave. And if you use more magic for some Aria blocks to get through the right side of that dungeon, it makes it even less likely you'll have enough for the quick cold stare fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be okay to use a little bit more. We do have Bombos, so we definitely don't need a full magic meter going into Cold Stare. But if you can have as much as possible, use Bombos and then several Fire Rod shots. Being that we only have Master Sword, that would definitely help to speed things up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and unlike the vanilla game, you can't count on the Pengators to drop any magic refills for you. Since the drop pools are shuffled, I don't feel like we've seen a lot of magic drops from enemies, but I haven't been paying too close attention. It hasn't really been a factor.
So with that E-Tank, we've got our second item out of Ice Palace. Still a bit more of this dungeon to go. Certainly a lengthy feeling dungeon to go through. I'll be curious, though, at this point to know what MST is up to heading back into the Dark World. Perhaps Pyramid Fairy, I guess. I don't know that he did that right after Swamp.
No, he didn't have... He went west to Desert Palace after
Oh,
Swamp.
that's right.
Yeah, he wanted to go west, check Bombos. He checked Bombos tablet on his way to Desert, which was really good choice for him, since you can save and quit and get pretty close to being back at this bomb shop anyway.
Correct. Yeah, that makes sense. So, good heads-up routing then. Just going from one crystal to the next.
Yeah, we'll see where MST goes after this. Hopefully, for him, he goes up to Death Mountain and gets that set of mitts from Spike Cave.
Right. At this point, we know that that's, I mean, like, an absolutely necessary thing, regardless of seed. And the longer, it's been pretty even in terms of inventories for the past little while. But at this point, the longer that MST goes without getting those mitts, it's not a great location either. It's just going to wind up giving Alu just a bit more of an edge as time goes on.
Looks like MST having a little trouble with the bomb drop off there. I think he forgot to drop it off and was going to go around and check the ledge or something, but remembered he already checked the ledge. After pod.
Alu missed the spin. They're breaking free. Not enough magic to use another Fire Rod, so... Oh, he's got that blue, okay.
Okay. That's a good play. That's a good heads-up play to know that you have that safety, and that even if you don't need it, because Al was certainly not in any danger, still had plenty of hearts, red mail, it still speeds up the fight enough that it's better to use the potion, go fast, rather than take your time and slash the eyeball or slash the puffs nice and slowly.
Right, it's definitely not a quick fight with Master Sword. Hammer can be difficult when several of them are bouncing off of walls at all directions. But I'd like this at this point from MST, showing us another new location, could very easily have one or more of the things that we would still really like to find.
Yeah, just to address it in chat too, we definitely need Ether Medallion for go mode. That's a hard requirement. The only thing that remains that's a hard requirement left here. Gravity Suit is required, and is required logically, possibly, from these runners. There's some very tricky things they'd have to do to get around that one. I do like Metroid MST's play into Skull Woods here. With it being green pendant, this makes a lot of sense. 3 items versus the 2 that he'd get going up Death Mountain.
For sure. And it doesn't take more than a couple of minutes to really knock this out.
No, not at all. It looks like you got one item in the front, or was that 2 already? I saw supers.
It was just the one that I saw, just that super pack.
Okay.
There was a small key and I think compass. No big keys, so we can't check the big chest, so... There's gravity in Super Bunny Cave and Ether.
Oh, wow, that's about the perfect layout you can have right there. He's gonna get his sword before saving, quitting, and cleaning up what's left. We might even check Hookshot Cave here for something as a quality of life, but
I think at this point it's not going to hurt him to check it, since you need to go ice to get that sword anyway.
Flute boots, charge, ice, those are all things that would speed things up here, so.
And there you go. He's just...
That's enough for him.
I think I still might have checked those other 2, hoping to find Flute, just because getting back to Misery Mire then would be so much faster.
Yeah, or Charge Beam or Ice Beam. Charge Beam would, I believe, could speed up Mother Brain a little bit, depending on their super count, and... how that goes. Ice Beam would for sure be worth the time investment to check those 2 chests, speeding up the Metroid Room Centurion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically ideal go mode, having those 2 items back to back. So Alu does not have to check a single thing in Meridia, just needs to beat Dragon.
And that was not what I was expecting to see right there. Not 2 things that are like the most important things that we needed. But cool. So pretty smooth sailing at this point from Alu, and as time goes on, much more crucial for Metroid MST to get up to Spike Cave, get those Titan's mitts, and then hopefully, while getting those Titan's mitts, realizes that all of Dark Path Mountain is open and just goes there first.
Yeah, rather than full clearing Ice Palace the way that Alu did. Yeah, the interesting thing is how to route this is a little bit funny. So yeah, because is Alu gonna opt to go all the way through Meridia, or is he gonna opt to do the back door? Probably do Dragon after GT. That's what I'm thinking here. I'm kind of trying to process what I would do at this point, because obviously he has to do Mire before GT. Might get some more items that speed up Super Metroid, including that Charge Beam. Could even get Charge and X-Ray to do microwave strats on Dragon, potentially. There's a lot of very unlikely but possible time saves. Yeah, Metroid MST did get the second item on Mothula there, so it doesn't have to check under the bridge. Not gonna mirror and check... Oh, he did check Pedestal already. That's my mistake. He checked Pedestal on the way in, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It was a arrow capacity upgrade.
Right.
So definitely not important.
With a little trouble with that green gate glitch, but gets it. Still has 10 supers remaining.
And Metroid MST just going straight to turn in that green pendant.
I think that's a good play. If you have your priority to do Skullwoods, I think you want to prioritize that turn in.
I fully agree with following through on the objectives that you started, and this is just that.
Yeah, especially with him being so low on logical checks that even though this is a walk for one item, whereas you got a couple other places where you can have 2 items. Oh, he's also got an item still on Armos. I think it was power bombs, some kind of ammo, but not anything useful. Now we're having a little bit of trouble with Meyer too.
Yeah, they are just not cooperating with him right now.
Right, yeah, our tracker confirming that MST has 2 items in Eastern. I know Armos had something. It was not helpful. Oh, 2 items left in Eastern. He's got 2 items left in Eastern because he didn't do the vanilla big key chest.
That's right, so it'll be the long walk all the way around.
Alright, we see Alucard doing his patented fish room strats. Although it's not a route I agree with in this case. It does have its uses and can sometimes, with the right key layout, be more efficient.
Yeah, I'd like to poke fun at him for this, but I mean, I've seen it work, so
Yeah,
it's tough to argue with results.
The only time that I think that I do it personally is if I already have the big key and I'm 1 item out of go mode, which is a very rare case. Because you're able to check this coming chest he's about to get next and the big chest and the big chest really quickly. It puts off the left side as long as possible. But because of the information you can gain from the compass chest, I think it's more important to do that one first when looking for the big key. For anyone that's not aware of the key logic in this dungeon, if the compass chest is a small key, the big key is vanilla. So, not the case this time, but...
Still all in all, a relatively quick time finding that big key.
Yeah, the fish room option does let you hit the crystal switch to get that lobby chest about as quickly as if you were to go left first to the compass chest. So pretty neutral time save versus time loss over the standard, common strat.
Silver arrows all around, Armos, Vitreous. These upcoming bosses are not going to know what hit them.
Yeah, for sure. And MST making a good call to not even bother to wait for the pendant to drop there. He gets the power bombs, but knows they're nothing, so he just saves and resets. No reason to wait for the fanfare.
Yeah, that fanfare is a good 11 or 12 seconds of time. Remembering as well these criteria power bombs that he never checked. Didn't have space jump the first time through here, and there was never really a convenient time to route it back in, but I guess this is as good as any. Just a missile pack, if I recall.
Yep. Yeah, apart from now, the only other opportunity he really had that would have made sense would be right after leaving Rex ship when he had his speed booster. He could have used that to get up here. But he opted to go down Red Tower instead, I believe. Which, just a couple screen transitions. But still would have been a little bit of a detour. Yeah, this is really unfortunate. I mean, Waterway could still have something useful.
I think that's what he's thinking right now, too.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to play along with the GT Big Key guessing game, you can put numbers in chat, 1 to 22, guessing where you think the big key is going to be. Just for fun, there's no bot or leaderboard for this tourney.
Well, I guess that is where he's headed toward right now.
Yep.
Was wondering if he was going to do Meridia first, take out Dragon, but I guess finishing the one game, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, and especially with boots. Oh, having trouble with that dead rock. He did a nice job using the hook shot multiple times to clear the first one out of his way. But gonna make a nice decision to just take the warp down here instead of waiting for the dead rock and going up top. But anyways, to your comment, I was going to mention, DT, with the boots especially, I think it makes sense to do Ganon first and then go from the pyramid to backdoor Meridia. Without boots, it's kind of a long walk. But I think that's the fastest route that he's got available. And of course, there's nothing he's going to find at Dragon that's going to help him in Ganon's tower. Just missiles at Waterway, so that's all for nothing. Hopefully MSD, he hasn't forgotten that he's got Spike Cave available, but that's what it looks like. That's very unfortunate. He's checking his map, which suggests that he's thinking he might have forgotten something. I think that is all that he has left, is the Ether Tablet and Spike Cave.
I believe that's correct.
In both games. That's a really easy one to forget, too, because it's kind of by itself. You've already gone past it and cleared what you thought was everything on Death Mountain.
Yeah. Spike Cave's just not... It's not a good location to miss something in. And those mitts, of course, leading directly to the other remaining progression. So just a bit of a standstill until that location does get scouted out.
Yeah, he's got a couple options, though. Like, if he... Of course, if he thinks he forgot a location or missed something, he can retrace his steps and try to find that. Or he's certainly capable of doing some of the Suitless Meridia to try to say, okay, maybe I skipped Gravity Suit. Maybe I can just work around that. But hopefully, he just took a minute to jog his memory and he's going there right now. I think that's the case. Well, hopefully, unless he goes into the portal towards Meridia. Go left, go left. Okay, good.
There we go. I was going to say, as much as I'd be impressed to see a Suitless Meridia, now's not the time.
Looks like it just took him a moment to remember. Or perhaps was just really frustrated with the Waterway not paying out and...
It's understandable.
Needed to compose himself.
And of course, Ether Tablet first. This is the correct play. Just, it's a bit faster to come up here, check this, and then route south into Spike Cave.
Absolutely. And there we see the big key in the fire bar room, so it's not too far through Ganon's tower.
Oh, that's a nice location for it.
Yeah, it's nice because the way the keys lay out, you almost definitely have a couple keys by the time you get there, so you don't have to worry about not having one for the climb, or even having to worry about the mini Helmosaurus at the top.
I mean, and if for some reason... actually, I'm thinking of the wrong room. Ignore me.
Okay.
But yeah, at this point, there's really nothing that could help Alu make this upcoming gauntlet, any quicker. It's very good equipment layout at this point. So it's just a climb away, and then Dragon, and then Mother Brain. Metroid MST grabbing those Titan's mitts, and saving and quitting, starting from Link's house.
Looks like he's probably gonna go to Ice Palace as well. Do the same thing that Alucard did.
It's not a bad play. It's really not. But
that's what I would do.
At this point, I would too. You're not looking for much, and Ice Palace is at least that crystal, so just go for it. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, having absolutely last location that though is it's got to feel bad. And I know most runners, even if they don't feel behind all the time, you don't really ever feel ahead. I don't know if that's your experience as well, DT, but that's, at least personally, I almost never feel ahead. But I think that, I imagine MST definitely feels behind here.
It can be a very easy thing to feel. Some runners don't experience it. Others, yeah, it's a very real thing. So it's all about how you cope with those situations and just keep moving on. And moving on and pushing forward has been something that MST's been doing for the past 2.5 hours. So good on him, good on Alu. This has been a really, really great race to see. Some really impressive execution from both runners. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. A really good race. Up till the last, 10 or so minutes.
I mean, but that's how these races go. I mean, for the years that randomizer racing has been a thing, it can be, yeah, I can't think of the phrase for this. You can be like neck and neck. You can lead by a hair, and then something happens, and that's just the way that these go. The distance grows, the gap widens.
Alu still checking chests, probably looking for that ice beam. Charge wouldn't help very much.
No, I think ice would be what you want to see at this point to get through those Metroids.
It's the better of the boomerangs.
Cool. MST having a little bit of trouble setting up Icebreaker, deciding to just head back down, go through the traditional way.
Yeah, he might be thinking the same thing with his magic as well. That might be a factor. Since he's already used it a little bit, trying to get that to work. Doesn't want to push it down too low and then have to rely on Bombos alone for Cold Stare.
Nice rhythmic hook shot tapping by Alu. It's a nice triple.
As well, huh?
Thought one of those or two of those, I guess, would have hit at the same time, but and a double. Not bad.
Yeah, certainly can't complain with a 3-cycle. A lot of times that's the best you can get if you get one of the blue balls from Aghanim.
Yeah, those first two patterns were pretty friendly. So entering Ganon now. Red Mail, we're not concerned about our health. Tempered Sword, it's gonna be pretty quick. Alu's done this once or twice. as ShyGuy is just a room or two away from Cold Stare. And only about half the magic, so Bombo's without a doubt going to be used. Won't have as much available for Fire Rod afterward.
I think he actually still has some rooms to check in this dungeon as well. Yeah, the way the key layout worked in the dungeon, this is a really favorable setup if either runners were able to get that icebreaker. Alu didn't attempt it. MST had some trouble with it, but kind of the way the keys have worked out, this is the most circuitous path to clear it that you can get. Of course, there's a nice routine Ganon fight from Alucard. Well done. Just got to get through Turian and Mother Brain. Oh, and Dragon. Let's not forget Dragon.
Dragon too. Yeah, it would not be good to forget about Dragon, but given this routing right here, yeah, he's just going to take the back portal into Meridia. Definitely the faster of the options right now. That's probably been one of my favorite things about Combo Rando is the versatility in this routing and the possibilities that Meridia portal specifically can allow for.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's really neat how all of those have their uses.
I mean, sometimes it's a situation like this where it's a quick dip, beat Dragon, and then leave. Other times it can be your logical Dark World access, coming from Meridia into the Dark World for the first time. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways, or even the opposite. We had the earlier race on Speed Gaming for the tournament had a speed booster in the Batu and E-Tank location, so this was required to get your speed booster.
Oh, interesting. But there's our fourth sword. I guess there's no point in getting that right now. Well, we know where it is.
It's kind of funny. Let's see which method of killing Dragon we get to see from Alu here. Likely go for Shine Sparks, potentially a combination of Shine Spark and Grapple if he either misses one or doesn't quite get enough damage in.
I was wondering about this myself. I saw that his super count was low, and this is a strat that I'm not too familiar with, but I do see from time to time. It looks cool. I know that much.
Yeah, this is certainly the quickest option that he has if he's able to get the Shine Sparks in and do enough damage. But yeah, to get off the timing, you opt to do the grapple kill. There's also some ways to set up this grapple kill where you can almost instantly grab onto the walls to get the electricity flowing right away.
Is it just like a tight window, or does it have to be with like a specific setup?
It's just standing in the right position. Like for the left side, it's a little bit easier, I think, than the right side, but that might just be personal preference.
Sure.
Basically,
okay.
You can stand on that little ledge just below it, and you can jump up. I jump up and angle up, and then when you get grabbed, Dragon pulls you down first and then back to the right, and you just time your shot and grab on before you get pulled too far to the center. Oh no, that's not great. Oh, we got a fairy. Okay, good.
I was worried for a moment, but yeah, fairy, that's good. Cold Stare is not an easy boss once it gets away from you and you've just got Master Sword. You can have red mail and all the health, but the movement is sometimes difficult to read. You think it might be safe to attack, another one can just go right toward you. Yeah. And it just a lot of hits.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where using bombos changes the timing on when the puffs start to separate too. So a lot of runners will find that using Bombos makes it harder to get them trapped in the corner at the expense of having more magic to kill them faster. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
For sure.
Nicely done to clean up on the second life after the fairy revival for MST to get the dungeon done.
Yep, very nicely done.
You know, I just thought of something that as MST was in this dungeon, it would have been interesting if he opted to do. It wouldn't have been surprising if he opted to do Dark Death Mountain earlier, knowing that there was a sword there, because it would necessarily make Ice Palace safer and Gold Stair faster.
That's an interesting idea. Sure. Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's a difference of Temper doing only requiring 8 swings on each puff versus the 16 for Master Sword. I mean, then I'll say it again. Like, once they get away from you, that's 16 Master Sword swipes on 3 individual enemies. It's rough. Tempered's a huge strength buff. Going from Master to Tempered is probably one of the best things in A Link to the Past.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So MST making the correct choice at this point, very, very near those the Ether Medallion, that gravity suit. And I do wonder if MST might check the left 2 chests in Hookshot Cave. Show us what Alu had missed. It's also going to open Turtle Rock. I guess if you're here and you have the medallion, you're not in go mode, go ahead and open it. It's going to be quicker than the possibility of needing to do it later. But I do hope that they're not going to venture in at this time.
Yeah, it's the decision of, I guess, guaranteeing you're losing the time to open the dungeon versus potentially losing the time of a couple of extra mirror warps to get it open after you clear these other locations out. Yeah, getting,
first one.
Oh, it's ice.
Oh, right. That is pretty funny.
I was gonna mention, I normally do Super Bunny Cave first before Hookshot Cave, but it actually makes a lot of sense knowing that you want the sword on the island to do Hookshot Cave first, which makes it so he kind of has to open those chests and get his boots and ice beam.
Right, and Hookshot Cave, being dense as it is anyway, could have easily had gravity, could have had ether, and then you don't have to do Super Bunny at all. So, yeah, I mean, you go with the knowledge, and at this point, the knowledge was there's a sword up there. So,
yeah, I guess.
Unfortunately, nope. There we go. Don't forget. Go left. Go. There we go.
And no baby skip from Alu. The baby skip instead. And using missiles on the red door, probably trying to save as many supers as he can for the Mother Brain fight, having no charge beam, no ice beam, can't do a Zeptite skip. I don't believe Alu does the speed Zeb skip. That's a really tricky short charge. It's much tighter than the ones he was using against Dragon.
You know, I honestly wouldn't be too shocked to see Alu come back for the missile refill, depending on how smoothly these go. Because he's gonna wind up using quite a few of his regulars. He's got enough supers as long as you don't miss, but inevitably it seems 1 or 2 winds up missing at some point anyway.
Yeah, he should be fine because if you hit the Zebatites quickly enough and don't miss any, it's 11 missiles per. Due to the regeneration, you can't land 10 before it regenerates a little bit of health. And then
he's just gonna go for it.
36 on Mother Brain 1, 6 for the glass, then 30 to actually deal damage. So with 4 extra supers, he should be okay here, I think. Yeah. It's a bit of a long backtrack for the missile refill.
That's true. It is. He's got that little bit of a cushion now, as you stated. So, and of course, he's skilled enough with this game. He's not me playing this, so he should be fine. There's one.
Say that he misses a super immediately.
That's not my fault.
Should be pretty safe now. The catch-up phase is kind of unintuitively much safer. It's unintuitively a lot safer just because Mother Brain's patterns get more predictable. And of course, no charge beams, so we don't even have to think about stand-up glitch. There's no reason to do that, and to be able to not damage Mother Brain and potentially soft lock yourself.
And on the other side of our screens, MST getting a very quick green gate. I cannot say that. The gate glitch, where you hit it from the right, that's easier for me to say than green gate glitch. Going out to Misery Mire, just going to wrap up these last couple of things.
Definitely doing a really nice job, still pushing onward in the seed here. Really the big story, obviously just the luck of having that Spike Cave location be his last location, but in addition to that, just the way he routed Link to the Past didn't end up being as efficient as the way that Alucard did. Alucard was able to cluster some things a lot more nicely, prevent a lot of overworld movement, and Alucard had really nice movement in the dungeons and such as well to give himself an advantage here.
For sure. Yeah, I will have to agree. Alu has played about as well as possible for what this seed allowed, and he's going to wind up finishing with a very respectable time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be under 245, which is fantastic. Especially considering, he did an entire pendant dungeon. I think he full cleared every dungeon he was in. So full clearing 8 dungeons is a lot.
It's true.
Plus almost all the overworld, with the exception of some mid-lock things and a few other odds and ends.
That's true. Yeah, we never saw any of the blacksmith chain. The only thing in that area that we saw was Magic Bat. That was, of course, fairly accessible much earlier on. Really, it's a kind of a full clear minus Meridia seed. That's basically what we were up against here. Sounds like a seed I want to play.
MST with a quicker Mire due to his dungeon routing. He's also not going to opt to go to the Compass Chest, but just grab the small key from the berry, hit the switch, and come back to the lobby, which works out for him, because that's probably the fastest way to do that, to get the key.
For sure.
Looks like he's not going through the warp, though, on the left side of the dungeon. This might just be a comfort thing, but it's definitely a little bit slower to walk around to the right. From where he was, he could have gone the opposite direction to get to the back.
Yeah, it's definitely close in terms of timing either which way. But yeah, I do generally agree that heading up toward that portal is at least a little bit quicker.
It depends on where you are when you get the big key, I think.
Right.
But since he was right there on the left side of the lobby, it would have made sense. Either way, Alucard gets the escape finished. 2:41:55. I don't know if that's the official time in the SRL, but GG's. Nicely done. I'm not sure if we're gonna get the runners in for an interview. It seems like there was an interesting issue in SRLs. They may not have gotten the invite. Ella may not have gotten the invite upon finishing. Regardless, we'll stick around and watch Metroid MST continue to clear through this. He doesn't have much longer left himself.
No, everything went all pretty quick. And it appears that we are actually joined by Alucard 2004. GG to you.
Hey there, thanks.
Yeah, GG's.
Thanks, Ace.
So how'd you feel about the seed?
I'd say it was weird. I don't know. Like, I felt like I got a reasonably okay time, but it was just weird. I don't know what to say. Like, there was no logical access to Wreck Ship early, so I was like, I'll put that off. It gave us Hookshot. Let's go to Death Mountain. Let's do all those things. And, like, it gave us Dark World access, and I'm like, okay, so where are the things in the Dark World? And I find Mirror, and I'm like, but I also got Space Jump, like, right after checking mode. So I was like, I'm worried that Metroid MST is going to check Wreck Ship, and I'm going to get wrecked. So after I did Pod, I was like, I just have to do Wreck Ship. It's too dense to leave that alone. We don't have Pegasus boots and Link to the Past. Things are slow. So, you know, Metroid's just a faster game. You just gotta put my eggs in that basket, and found speed, and I was like, okay, well, that'll be nice later. When am I gonna get my suits? And then trudging through the Dark World, finding, like, only flippers. It was like a disaster, just looking for mitts.
Certainly not a kind location for those mitts either. Unfortunately, seeming that that's the one thing that really held up Metroid MST for a bit longer. That's just a difficult location. It's not a fun one to have something that you miss in.
Route in, and it's hard to justify going there if you don't see, like, Bluetane or Kate pop up. And then once I saw that pop up in Swamp, I was like, okay, maybe I need to start worrying about this. But I might be able to get some information about the logic, you know, after I found Varia. So I was like, I'm just gonna break LN and just do all of LN. Maybe I find mitts there. Then I know that gravity is somewhere, but maybe I can just win without it. like that was, and then Meyer turned up Ether, and I was like, come on. Oh, this just didn't pay off at all, and I'm just gonna keep falling behind.
Yeah, lucky for you, the big disadvantages like that, you know, double lava dive to get to Meyer, were things that MST did as well. He was in the same boat. He actually did the lava dive significantly earlier than you did, with only Quake Medallion, so we knew it was Ether before you went there, and then had to go back again later. He went there without Mirror too, so he wasn't able to check checkerboard on his first trip as well.
I feel like I got Varia pretty late, but logically, maybe not that late. I mean, I guess I did all of Swamp and Pyramid Fairy and stuff, but I felt like my route in the overworld was efficient, so I wasn't, like, too bothered by that. I was a little worried about the Snow Woods and North Dark World, but I decided to just leave it, and it ended up paying off, at least.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest, apart from just in some ways, the luck. Obviously, there's decisions and reasons for routing the way you did, and you did a great job, but the mitts being late kind of just out of luck for MST a little bit. Other than that, probably the biggest advantage you had was just how efficiently you routed the Dark World stuff. You definitely did a lot of things there in ways that end up being a lot more efficient. Like, your Pyramid Fairy into Catfish into Zora area checks, like that kind of stuff. Like he had already done Zora earlier, so he had to make an extra trip back to Catfish. Things like that definitely saved you some time, a lot of time, especially since boots were so late in the overworld. Ended up being a big difference.
Yeah, I was really hoping that flippers were gonna turn up in Village of Outcasts, and then they were in Thieves. I was like, this is gold. I get to route this cleanly down towards Swamp. It's a good chance maybe Mitts are in Swamp. Let's just do Swamp. There's nothing in Swamp, of course. There's nothing at Pyramid Fairy. And it turns out you could break your Varia pretty early.
Yep.
Just have to dip SM once.
MST broke his Varia after doing all of Upper Norfair.
Oh, wow, he was hell running. Crazy.
Yeah, he definitely broke the logic a lot more, and it really made things kind of interesting. But that's the other thing unfortunate for him is that most of that didn't turn up much, because he did wreck ship before getting Space Jump.
Oh, okay.
He did the CWJ to get over there, and then got Space Jump after. And then he did Upper Norfair, which didn't really pay out with much. It had the book
and Red Cane
and Cane. That's the other thing, yeah. But really, that kind of ended up being a bit of a time loss too, having to farm a little bit. But he had enough E-Tanks, it wasn't a huge time loss, just didn't give him any advantage.
Yeah, if Red Cane hadn't popped up in Norfair, I was 100% gonna go to Skullwoods and not Lava Dive, and do the North Dark World stuff. But when Red Cane popped up, I was like, this is an easy Lava Dive here. I have 2 medallions. There's no way it's Ether, right? There's no way.
Yeah, that made sense too with you having Desert logically available. That was just another way to route that in, which worked out really well.
Boots were actually required, and
right.
I had to figure that out anyways, but I figured, why not check all that stuff? There's a lot of stuff there, and in Lower Norfair, and it might kind of give me some hints as to where Gravity or Mitts could be, or Flute, like that, depending on what I find there.
Right. Did MST forfeit, or?
I believe he did, yeah. Hopefully he's not waiting for like a invite link or something.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, he did forfeit. Okay, it's a little harder to find in the SRL chat due to some of these, whatever this weird issue was that's in there. But
everything broke.
Yes, there is a dot forfeit in there. At 20:48, which is 11 minutes ago. That makes sense. And looks like he is joining us here in the interview. GG, Metroid MST.
Thank you. GG, Alu.
GG and Metroid MST.
So how do you feel about that seed?
That one, I probably could have done a little better. I could not get a read on the seed at all. I thought I was doing okay early. I was like, CWJ worked first time. Well, first and a half try. I was like, oh, I got my cane, I got speed booster, which normally I would expect that to be something. I've been normally finding stuff from Meridia, so I'm expecting Meridia to kind of show up. Speed booster's nice for that, and that didn't happen. And yeah, I just could not read the seed. Spike Cave's, to be fair, never on my horizon. I really don't care about that location. It's a stupid location.
Yeah, especially when you don't have the mitts to route in with the Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, for a one-off location, you saw that was technically my second to last location. Checkerboard was still in play. That's
right.
That's why I kind of sat there. I was like, do I want to just go to Checkerboard now, or?
Okay, that was the thought when you were in Waterway that you paused for a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I have 2 spots left. I don't like either of these.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
But no, it was a fine enough seed. I just didn't play it very well. There was just stuff, and everything was actually pretty open. I mean, obviously, Alu finished in a 240, under 242. Those mids opened up everything you needed right there on Dark Death Mountain, and that's it would have played fairly nice had you actually made that play fairly early, because there wasn't.
Oh yeah.
You didn't have to do any of Meridia. You didn't even have to dip a pendant, which I've cleared out 2 of them, and I was like, this is getting on my nerves now. This is not giving me anything for doing all these extra things. Like, I didn't even get charge beam out of it, so it's like it didn't give me anything.
Yeah, and your sequence breaks, like you mentioned, they really just didn't pay out very well. I mean, they did technically give you things that were required, but you didn't really get to turn that into an advantage. Like the cane was required, but you couldn't use it till it became in logic way later, and Speed Booster helped a little bit here and there, but not very much.
It really was not a big deal.
Wreck ship, yeah.
Yeah, I was excited when I first went into Misery, to the portal to Misery Mire, because I had got the king. I was like, okay, I got a medallion from, I believe it was the Bat. So I was like, oh, I got a medallion pretty early. It's only one of them, but there's a chance that this will be required for one of these dungeons. And then I was like, oh, this is the one crystal. And then I saw it was ether. I'm like, oh, no. Was not particularly happy with that, but I kind of expected. Hope does not normally pay out on this.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard MST, but Alucard did do the same double lava dive. He went there with 2 of the 3 medallions, but didn't have ether as well. So that was one of the really unfortunate things that you both had to struggle with.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. When you have 2 and it's still not the right one.
It felt like the right play even with 1, man. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Like, just to see what's there, and then you can get some educated information about where mitts or gravity or something could be. If you find something there, it's just nothing was there.
When I first went there, I thought it was kind of lining up where that was actually going to be the medallion. I could clear the dungeon right there. Obviously, I couldn't do desert, but I thought it was setting up to where it wanted me to go there. It's like, here, now you can go do it. And then when that didn't happen, I just from that point on, I think I was kind of lost throughout the whole seed. It's like I'm just gonna go start clearing things and hope I get what I need, and I really didn't until right before the end there.
Yeah, it was very odd in the way that so much of the Dark World had opened up, and between Thieves and Pod, of course, finding Flippers and Mirror, all of the other items that were available there, all of Swamp, I mean, it was just scarce.
Yeah, and I actually forgot I had Dark World access.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering that. I mentioned that might be the thing.
Yeah, I grabbed the hammer on Death Mountain. I was like, oh, hammer, that's great. I'll go finish Hera, or do Hera. And I was like, huh, now what do I do? Nothing clicked off my head. I'm like, I have Dark World now. That should be. I have gloves and a hammer.
When did you realize that you did have Dark World?
It was definitely after. I know I turned in the mushroom before I realized. I went. It wasn't while I was in Crocomire, going down to Lower Norfair. Because at that point I had, I think, cleared out what I could in Zelda. I know I'd sequence broke Varia, but I was like, well, I have Varia. I'll just go in Norfair. And I was going there. I'm thinking, like, there's got to be something in logic here. And then it's like, oh, right. The Dark World, that's open. Whoops.
Well, either which way, from where I was sitting, all that I can really end with is a solid GG to both of you. I still had a lot of fun watching this. A location like Spike Cave, it's unfortunate. It's something that happens to, I think, literally everybody that touches a randomizer at some point. in their time playing these.
Oh yeah.
It's just not a friendly location when there's progression there, and that's not the fault of anybody. It's just unfortunate for the routing. Both of you played excellently. It was a ton of fun, and I just gotta say GG to both of you. Thanks for the race.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the race, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, I guess one thing that you may not know, Metroid MST, is you have some influence over me even playing Super Metroid altogether. Like about 6 years ago when I started running Super Metroid, I like found all your YouTube channel stuff under ShyGuy online, and I was like, oh my god, there's randomizers for Super Metroid, and kind of got me infatuated with it. So thanks. No need to apologize. So it was kind of exciting to play against you.
It's fun. I enjoy. You are the third top 10 player I've played this tournament. I've lost 2 of them. Somehow I beat the highest ranked one I played. I don't know how that happened, but actually I do know they pulled a spike cave as well on that one. But no, it's fun playing it in the tournament. Anybody who's interested, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. It is obviously a big undertaking, but it is a very fun randomizer, and you can learn a lot when you get to play against some really good players. It's really fun. Now you have to go win it, Alu.
I'll try. There's a lot of monsters in this tournament. We'll do our best.
Yeah, looks like looking ahead to the matchups, we've got Alucard against the winner of Aussie and a Real Cutie, since we know Apathy Duck's a pushover, right?
Oh, is that right? I don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll see.
Just kidding. That'll be a really good match, actually. It is Apathy Duck 07 versus Alucard 2004.
Oh, look at this guy scouting in the chat. Okay, never mind. All right, pushover confirmed. He has to scout. No, I'm kidding. It'll be a fun match. And thank you guys for doing the comms and for Link Force behind the scenes doing the tracking and stuff. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys very much.
Sure thing. You're very welcome. I believe I could properly speak for Ace and Link Force as well that we enjoyed this and are thankful to have had the opportunity. So,
yeah, for sure. Thanks to Link Force and of course everybody for watching. Having an active community, people watching and playing and everything makes this a lot more fun than just playing it on your own. But again, GG's to both the racers, and we'll look forward to the next match. Do we have any other ones on the schedule? Do you have that up, DT?
I do not right this moment. I can load it. Fun thing about having things bookmarked. Looks like next match is tomorrow evening, 8:10 p.m. Channel to be determined. Looks like Ninjambro versus Asder. And then after that, a couple of days in between.
Now, speaking of pushovers, hi, Asder. Nope, I'll go ahead out. So again, thanks once again, guys, and thanks Speed Gaming for the restream.
Very well, and good job again. Good race. Alu and Metroid MST, feel free to give these runners a follow. I saw the command a moment ago in chat. We'll do another one. Check them out. Give them some support. They are fun to watch, as evidenced by the last couple of hours here. So thanks again to Link Force for tracking, all of you for watching out in Chatland, and along with Ace Zero, I am in the name of DT. Thanks so much. Have a great night, everybody.